A Labour politician has been seen enjoying herself while people are suffering in the world. Angela Rayner was seen getting a monstering in the right-wing press because Meghan Markle hasn't done anything they can complain about this week. But Angela Rayner has a surprising defender. Can you guess who it is? Meanwhile, some of the richest people in the land are whining that one of their luxuries won't soon be subsidised by us poor dopes who can't afford them. And Nigel Farage makes another promise he probably won't keep after he told us that he won't go to pubs if the smoking ban comes in, just as he told us he'd leave the country if Brexit was a failure. Well, he left the country to suck up to the tangerine screen. Problem is, he came back again.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Hi, honey. How are you?
This guy is sick. There's something wrong with this guy.
The Met Office has issued a weather warning for heavy rainfall this weekend as parts of the UK face flooding, hail, thunder, lightning. Very, very frightening.
Rock and roll!
The forecaster's yellow warning for heavy showers and thunderstorms covers large swathes of England and eastern Wales until 9 p.m. on Sunday. And there is never any sentence that contains the word swathes that has good news in it. The alert brings the threat of flooding and power cuts as well as travel chaos, with roads set for closure, train and bus services facing disruption, including but not limited to cancellations. In other words, just your typical average Sunday. Thanks a lot, Keir Starmer. You see what you've done? Boo! Meteorologists said the conditions could lead to difficult driving conditions and recommended you hang so close to the car in front that you could change the station on their stereo just by leaning forward, and flash your lights and honk your horn at anyone doing less than 40 in a 20 zone. Of course, if you drive while wearing a baseball cap, you will already be doing this.
Thank you.
Thundery downpours are likely to hit the south of England, the Midlands, the north and eastern parts of Wales on Sunday, which sounds like everywhere to me. The latest Met Office statistics show that summer has been cooler than usual in the UK, with slightly below average sun. You don't need to be an expert to tell that. You can say that again. Worst summer ever.
Correct.
Messages from last night. Daniel says there's no way these swing voters in the US are going to vote for Trump in the upcoming election, surely. He's getting worse each and every rally. The man is an utter disgrace.
Don't be rude.
Hard to believe that anybody is still contemplating voting for that ding-a-ling. On the other hand, Les texts, very easy to pick up little blips from someone who is making an ad-lib speech for 3 hours. Let's see Harris ad-lib for 3 hours without auto-cue. That would be funny, says Les. OK, couple of three things there, Les. First of all, Donald Trump does not ad-lib for 3 hours. It's an hour, hour and a half tops. And second, ad-libbing for an hour and an hour and a half is, but just like mental word salad, is not something to commend. It's not very presidential.
I can be more presidential than anybody.
Alfie says Angela Rayner is concerned about climate change, net zero and the state of the economy. What was her carbon footprint flying to Ibiza? And why couldn't she spend her money in the UK instead to help our own economy? Surely every bit helps. Typical champagne socialist attitude. I'm sure those frozen pensioners will understand, says Alfie. Yeah, all right. Shall we start there then? This story has a surprising twist. Angela Rayner has been criticised for getting her jiggy with it at an Ibiza super club. You know, getting jiggy with it. Following a meeting with mayors and housing regulators on Wednesday,
Boring.
She hot-footed it out to Ibiza and was filmed dancing with an Australian DJ, Fisher, whoever that is, in front of a vast crowd at the High Ibiza Super Club. Hi.
Hello.
You know, the High Club.
Hello.
And I looked at prices for this place, and it's €100 just to get in.
What?
Yeah. And it's €21 for a drink.
Booze.
I checked the reviews online, and they weren't great. I haven't seen many things online where there's more reviews that are 1 star than there are 5 stars. Because these days, there's only 2 options, really. I mean, they give you 5 options, but people only really pick one or the other of 2. Either everything is a 5 star, which means that whatever it is performed as you expected, which to me is not a 5 star. That's a 3 tops, isn't it? I mean, if you get a delivery and you say, how was the delivery? And you say 5 stars, well, that doesn't give you any room for improvement. How can a delivery, just some bloke or woman, sexist, who delivers a package to your house, how is that 5 stars? The package arrived in the manner in which the retailer sent it. Nothing was broken. It arrived at the correct address, and that gets 5 stars? That's a 3. That's average, surely. I mean, if the delivery person wished you a happy hi, how are you? If they said
hello,
and like you were in the shower and they waited for 5 minutes on the door on your doorstep, waiting for you to finish your ablutions, then maybe that's a 4. If they tidied up your front stoop while they were waiting and gave your door knob a polish, well, maybe that's a 5. But everybody gives a 5 for anything that is, is remotely average, is just okay. If a cab driver delivers you to where you wanted to go without crashing, you give them 5 stars. That don't make no sense to me. But if there's one single solitary thing that is wrong about it, you give it a 1 star. Almost nobody gives it anything in between. It's either 5 or 1. And people give 1 stars for the most ludicrous reasons. I bought this watch online and I ran it over with my car and now it doesn't work. 1 star. Furious. Anyway, I checked the reviews online for this this high club.
Hello.
And loads of people saying how packed it was. Couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Worst clubbing experience of my life. That sort of thing. And what they failed to do, I think, was be famous and get invited into the DJ booth where there was plenty of space, and I imagine the drinks are free. Like Club Tropicana.
Groovy.
And later in the footage posted to Instagram, the MP for Ashton-under-Lyne, wherever that is, could be seen singing along with the DJ's headphones around her neck as a sea of smartphones held aloft in front of her, capturing the moment.
Fabulous.
It were grand when I were a lad. When you went to a club, you danced your face off and you didn't even think about filming it or anyone else. Because why would you? Why would you stop your night's pleasure to turn film director to get a wobbly clip to put on the internet for complete strangers to give you a thumbs up? There's €200 for entry and a couple of drinks well spent. Really, kids? Come on. There's a whole... If you just get your face out your phones, you'll find a whole life out there in high definition and surround sound stereo.
Groovy.
Course says the Labour Party have failed in the 7 weeks that they've been in charge to fix all the problems in the country caused by 14 years of Tory misrule. The press and the right-wing foamers had a meltdown. All except for one surprising exception. Not the former Tory MP Nadine Dorries, though, who did as you would expect of her by writing an article saying that Angela Rayner's behaviour, quotes, demeans her office. Nadine Dorries wrote that. I mean, she didn't even blurt it out in an unguarded moment. No, she wrote it down, looked at it on the page, read it back to herself, and then sent it into a newspaper for them to publish it. And congratulated herself on a job well done. Nadine Dorries is accusing someone else of demeaning their office. Nadine Dorries. She possesses all the self-awareness that the Lizbot exhibits.
Absolutely.
And there was one person who came to Angela Rayner's defence, though. Can you guess who it is? Michael Gove, the Caledonian cavorter. He posted on social media, Angela Rayner is absolutely not my political cup of tea or even my political glass of sangria. but all right-wingers criticising her for dancing in Ibiza needs to lighten up, said Michael Gove. He said, I'm always glad when politicians take some time off and rest, plus she's a pretty good dancer.
Calm down,
said Michael Gove. He said it's a tradition for secretaries of state in the department, possibly referring to the moment that he was pictured in a suit, dancing wildly at Bohemia, a techno club in Aberdeen, which at the time was
a major capital letters, big news story.
And according to accounts, the then cabinet minister, who had recently separated from his wife, was drinking until last orders and was urged to move on to the club by fellow drinkers. This was in Aberdeen. And you've probably seen the footage of him dancing, and once seen, you can't unsee it. You're probably thinking of it right now, aren't you? You're welcome. A claim that Michael Gove tried to, at that moment, avoid paying the £5 entry charge by repeatedly stating that he was the Chancellor of the Duchy. I'll start that again. It's a sentence you can't just jump in halfway. You have to do the whole thing all in one go. A claim that Michael Gove tried to avoid paying the £5 entry charge by repeatedly stating that he was the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster was was rejected by friends of the minister. Really? I want the names of those so-called friends. But he is a friend of Angela, which sort of makes up for everything else that we know about him, no?
No.
No. And it's not the first time that our Ange has gone off on one. Speaking at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival last year, the 44-year-old said she had just returned from Spain. She said, the girls I was raving with were half my age, and I was like, I'm a grandma. I was proud of that, she said. 4 p.m. I started, and I got home at 6 o'clock in the morning when the sun was shining, and I was like, yes, I can do it. Asked whether she had managed it with or without chemical support, Angela Rayner reportedly said that she just drank vodka. She said, you gotta go with the music, the vibes, you gotta be in the moment, it takes you, she said. She said, you better lose yourself in the music, the moment, you own it, but never let it go. Oh! You only get one shot, do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime, yo!
Rock and roll!
That's what she said. Really, I mean, you know it's a slow news day when the entirety of the right-wing press are piling in on this. What absolute nonsense. Good grief. I am stunned. I mean, talk about deflection. They're trying to persuade you that everything that is wrong with the country is Labour's fault. They told you that they would do this, blindingly obvious that this is where they were going. Salt the earth, try to make it as difficult as possible for an incoming Labour government to do anything about the catastrophe that they've left this country in. I mean, just look around you. Good grief, what a mess. And then spend the next 5 years moaning that the place is in a right state. Hey, Tories.
Stop whining.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Would you mind telling me what this is all about?
At the moment, it is messages that I received last night but didn't have time to read out on the air. I also, please don't let me leave tonight without doing the thing about Boris and Margaret Thatcher. Because I do believe that my glamorous assistant and this audience in general were remiss in not reminding me, OK, it was all my fault. Nikki says last night, in regard to things that used to cost less, we were talking about gigs and how they used to be, you know, just pocket change. Now you virtually need to take out another mortgage. Nikki says, circa 1970, bus rides were 5p to anywhere, and 2p was a call from a telephone box. There was a 2.5 pence piece that could buy you 10 sweeties. A 2.5 pence piece. Is that true? It says the Beano was less than 5p. Oh, they were the days, says Nikki. A 2.5p piece. That's not true, is it? Am I misremembering? On that subject, Ricky says, I'm going to wait for the Oasis World Tour and pick up their Bratislava gig for €2 with 3 pints thrown in for free. Somebody called us from one of those EA places, Slovakia or Slovenia or one of those, and they said that a pint of lager in their local establishment was 80 pence.
What?
80 pence. Not £8, 80 pence. And Chris says, live music has been hijacked. The bands have no choice but to use them. Them. What them? Well, read on and you'll find out. Stupid. He says, live music has been hijacked. The bands have no choice but to use them because of their contracts with the music labels. Venues have no choice because if they refuse to use them, there's that them again. They can't have the bands perform there. I would imagine that he's talking about ticket sellers. Same with the takeaway, he says. Used to be £2 for delivery. Now my favourite restaurant has increased prices 20% to cover their end. There's a service fee and then up to £5 delivery charge. How is that progress? It's not. Chris, just go to the restaurant, for crying out loud. If your favourite restaurant is within a walking distance or a 1 or 2 stop bus ride, just go to the restaurant. It'd be better. It'd be a better experience for you because it'll get you out of the house, and it'd be a better experience for the restaurant because at least they'll get to keep the money that you give them, not give over vast amounts to the delivery company who've got them over a barrel. If they're increasing 20%, their prices by 20% to cover their end, that means the delivery company is charging them 20% of the bill to take it from them to you. Get out the house. Go and support your local restaurant. You'll miss it when it's gone. Glasgow. Hello, Carolyn.
Hi there. Hi, Nick.
Hello there.
Hello. Just to say, I loved your show last night. It was so funny with everybody phoning up about Oasis and reminiscing about their favourite rock band.
Yeah.
But can I just say that my husband's a big Deep Purple fan, and we have this thing that I love live theatre. I love ballet. So I go and see maybe a gig with him, and he comes and sees a gig with me. But a wee while back, we went to see Glenn Hughes from Deep Purple, and it was completely ruined with everybody holding their phones up.
Oh.
We went to this live gig. They were all holding their phones up. I couldn't even get to see it. And it's happened a few times, and that's why I don't even go now to live gigs. I don't even go because it's completely ruined. They had their phones up in front of them. Even at a Deep Purple gig I went, they had all their phones in front of them. I couldn't even see the band.
It's absolutely ridiculous. I cannot believe... I'm just very, very disappointed with the kids. Of course, kids didn't go to Deep Purple, did they? Because they'll be all like, what's Deep Purple, Grandad? Grandad?
Oh, I know.
Oh, you little...
I know. But you know something? We went to see, we go to theatre, I drag them to the ballet, but my daughter comes as well. And do you know what was lovely? We went to see Jesus Christ Superstar recently, and we sat and we loved it. And there was nobody with a phone in front of my face.
Right.
I could see and enjoy every single minute of it. And it was absolutely brilliant. So
now,
see now, I go to the theatre.
Right.
I go to theatre. I will refuse to go and see live bands anymore.
Nicer people. Yeah. So what does your husband say about that?
Well, he's a big Roddy Gallagher fan as well. He goes to the Roddy Gallagher events as well. But no, he understands. But honestly, I was trying to see things, and even he said it was ridiculous. Somebody had an iPad in front of them, filming it. I couldn't see it. I couldn't see the tribute or anything.
Right.
So it just completely ruined it for me.
Can I just check with you on one item about what you just said? Rory Gallagher is still dead, isn't he?
He's still dead, but he is still fabulous.
Yeah.
And they have a thing every year, and my husband goes to it and things. But again, you know, I love theatre, but now, as I say, it's the theatre for me. It's not live gigs anymore because the phones have ruined it for me.
Well, there is an answer to that, and some acts have done this, and I've been to like one of these like immersive theatre experiences where you walk through a house and all sorts of things happen to you. And at the entrance, they give you a bag that locks, and you put your phone in it. Otherwise, you don't get to go in. And it comes as a bag with a piece of like rope on it, and so you wear the bag. It's not like you're giving over your phone. You've got it on you, but you can't get to it because it's in this locked bag. And then they unlock the bag when you come out. So everybody experiences the event as it was supposed to be, and they don't look at it through the 3-inch screen on their wobbly phone.
That sounds absolutely perfect.
Doesn't it?
But unfortunately, that's why I'm thinking my poor nephews, I've got 3 nephews, and they never got any tickets for Oasis. They were all trying tonight, and it was
nephews?
Today all day.
How old are they?
3 nephews.
How old are they?
One is 18 and one is 21 and one is 25.
Okay, that's way too young to be interested in an Oasis reunion.
I know, but let me tell you, we've got them into Deep Purple, Rory Gallagher and various things like that.
Yeah, the good stuff.
The good stuff, but unfortunately, as I say, the phones are ruining it for me. They've just ruined so many gigs that I've gone to. But
I think that everybody should take that up. All acts should start doing that, and then people will get used to it. At first, it seemed a bit weird. I mean, at least you don't give your phone up, because people will get separation anxiety. You know, particularly kids. They'll just freak out if they have to give their phone to somebody. But you wear it on your person, but you just can't get to it until you leave. Brilliant idea.
Great idea. But see, before I go, can I just say, we had a lovely day in Glasgow today. It's not going to last, but we had the sun shining.
Well, I know I believe you with the second part that it's not going to last, but I'm just going to have to check on.
It's not going to last.
I'm just going to have to check on that. I accidentally pulled up the weather forecast for where Carol McGiffin, who I do a podcast with. Yeah, she lives in the south of France. Good grief! And I was looking for Glasgow, and I pulled up where she lives instead, and I thought, blimey, that's great for Glasgow. 91 degrees and sunny tomorrow, but that's not Glasgow, no.
Definitely not, no. Definitely not.
I'm just going to look for where you are. Oh, I haven't got it.
We've had a lovely day today. Right. Absolutely beautiful.
So, now, a lovely day in Glasgow, does that mean it didn't rain very much? Or?
No, it just meant there was a big sort of bright thing in the sky that
really?
I've never seen for a long time. Yeah.
Oh, here's the good news, Here's the good news, Carolyn. You're going to see it quite a lot in the next 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, exactly.
I'm so happy, but thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Caroline. Cheers, my dear. And since that Oasis thing started, and I was talking to Carol McGiffin about it on the podcast that's going to be coming out on Monday.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I was singing one of their songs.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was mostly singing it because I knew it would annoy her. And it did. A lot. But the problem with that is that now I have it running around my brain as an earworm, and I cannot get rid of it. Champagne supernova in the sky. That is going around my brain, and I can't get rid of it. How do you get rid of a brainworm? I have to replace it with something better, or just different would be good. Like middle of the road. Ooh-wee, chirpy, chirpy, cheep, cheep. That would be better. It's infuriating. I wake up with that thing going around my mind, and I find myself humming it and then catching myself during the course of the day. And then last thing at night, that's the soundtrack to my life now. But you know me, I never complain.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
0345 6060 973. Jane says, I've seen the Sisters of Mercy 20 times, 15 times wonderful, 5 times worse than Oasis. There's a lot of messages about things that I want to talk about later. About smoking and what's the other one? Well, there's various Trump defenders. And the Thatcher thing. Don't forget to remind me to talk about Boris Johnson and Margaret Thatcher, because if I leave tonight without doing that, I'm going to be absolutely furious with you. Rob says, I have a terrible problem with ants in my house, and I've been following the advice of one of your listeners and got down on the floor and kindly asked the ants to leave. The trouble is they don't stay still, and and I can't remember which ones I've spoken to. Any further advice? I've been at it for 10 hours and my neck is hurting, says Rob. And you would have to have been listening last night to understand what that's about. I should remind you that we do well, first of all, I should remind you about the podcast that I do with Carol McGiffin. And then I'll remind you about the one that is the Friday and Saturday night shows. We put them up the internet as a podcast. But the one I do with Carol McGiffin, I do believe you will find a delight. It comes out twice a week, on a Monday and a Friday. Now, the one I've just been talking about is coming out on Monday. It's a dilemma-solving podcast. It's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol. Now, if you want us to have a bash at your issue, then send it to the following address, nickandcarol@global.com. That is nickandcarol @global.com. And prepare for total satisfaction.
Oh, right, yeah.
So that is What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol. I think you'll love it. 10:30 on LBC. The headlines read here by Serena Farrow.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Listen to him. He knows everything.
0345 6060 973. Oh, hang on. Whatever I caught about 3 months ago has not left. It's still with me. What is going on there? Mark says Skier is banning tobacco smoking so he can legalise cannabis to recoup the tax loss and some. Hence, he has been sucking up to Germany, who have recently done the same. Bring it on, says Mark. That's not where I thought that was going. Skier is banning tobacco smoking so he can legalise the cannabis.
Want to score some pot?
Just say no, kids. In fact, just say no thank you. I mean, good manners don't cost nothing, do they?
Be polite.
Ben says, do you really think Oasis would have reunited if Brexit hadn't happened? I can't actually see it, says Ben. Yeah, and another reason to bemoan Brexit. Yeah. 0345 6060 973. Doncaster. Hello, Martin.
Hey, Nick. Yeah, I'm just ringing up like I just feel a bit deflated at the moment about a couple of things really. Mm-hmm. I'm a Labour voter, and I always vote Labour. And after 50 days, I'm going right off them because well, I'll be going out tomorrow. Yeah. I'll be watching football, mm-hmm. and I'll be going out for a cigarette, and they're going after people like me. Mm. And you've got a Labour MP today letting his tenants live in squalor. And yeah, he says he doesn't know about it. I don't believe it. But
well, if he says he doesn't know, then until proven otherwise, let's go with that.
Oh yeah. I know where you're coming from. And yeah, I mean, but
that's not. That to me doesn't speak a Labour. I mean, that's a landlord issue. That's not a Labour politician issue, because landlords can span parties. It's not a particular party, one or the other, that has landlords in it. In fact, it's more Tory than any other party. But go on.
Oh yeah. But it's like we've had 14 years at Tories. Yeah, I mean, COVID contracts, things like that, and corruption. And now and all I expected is better from Labour. It's like giving jobs to the mates and to the Labour donors and that, and you just want better. Yeah, I mean...
But don't you think that you maybe should wait at least for the big round number of 100 days before you consign them to the dustbin of hell?
Oh, listen, I'd still... Listen, it'd take me a hell of a lot to vote Tory. I could never do that, I don't think. No. Yeah, but... No, I just feel disappointed, Nick. Yeah, I mean, I love voting, and come on, I speak to Ian Dale quite a lot. I go on his show, and I've spoke to you about various things. I've not spoke to you for a while, right? And I mean, I believe in voting. Yeah, I mean, and I look forward to. I know it sounds daft. I might be one of a kind, and I look forward to voting day, and I don't understand why other people don't. No, because it's all right to have our say. And
it should be 100%, nudging 100% of the electorate should vote at every opportunity. But apparently that's just too much effort. I think you're going to have to just wait a little bit longer before you pass judgment on the new Labour government, Martin. Call me back in about 50 days. Promise you'll do that.
Nick, I will do. Can I just say something to you as well?
Yes.
I went to a show last night, and I've been to until 12 months ago, me and my partner had no money. And luckily enough, we've come into a bit of money. I've been to some brilliant concerts, and I mean amazing. And we've not paid a fortune for some of them, some of them we have. And they've not let us down. And the experiences. Anyway, I went to a concert last night, a Tony Hadley concert at Spa Theatre.
Tony Hadley out of...
Spandau Ballet.
Spandau Ballet,
yeah.
Right. Mm.
Anyway, it started at 7:30. Mm-hmm. We were finished at 9:10.
Blimey.
And I just feel, I feel gutted. We've not paid a fortune for tickets, it were enough.
Hang on a minute. You telling me that he came on stage at 7?
7:30.
7:30.
7:30. And we were finished. We were out that venue at 9:10.
Right.
Last night.
Well, that's about an hour and a half. I mean, that's as long as a film used to last before they started making them for 3.5 hours. I mean, an hour and a half, that's about as much as you want, isn't it?
No, usually every concert we've been to, Nick, we've been to about 6 or 7 in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
It started about 8 o'clock and you get out about 10:30, 11:15.
Right.
And, I just feel shortchanged. Listen, he did some good songs.
How much was it?
We were lucky. We only paid £40 a ticket, but we could have...
That's still quite a lot.
Yeah, there was some VIP tickets. You probably could have paid 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
Those VIP tickets, from what I've seen, are just absolutely not worth it. Quite often, what they'll do with the VIP is they'll give you a room, or if it's an outside event, they'll wall off an area backstage and put out some fizzy pop and some crisps, and that's your VIP area. And then they'll lead you to a place where the view is worse than if you'd just been standing with a hoi polloi down the front.
Yeah, because he said on website they had VIP toilets. I couldn't believe that. VIP toilet. I just
Tony Hadley personally warms the seat before you get there. Yeah.
But I will bring you back in another 50 days
All right.
and I'll let you know.
Okay, I'll look forward to that. Good work. Thanks a lot, Martin. He's very, very upset. 0345 6060 973. I was talking about favourite smells last night as well. They were covering all of the bases, like they say in Merca. Tanya says, I think you mean a Roneo or Gestetner machine that had carbon paper. I love the smell of bonfires, but God forbid if you light one, says Tanya. Yeah, the smell of burning wood is fantastic, and the smell of cut grass and all of that stuff. But that's the same with everybody. I think we are programmed to like that. But the old copying machine, is that what they called them? Gestetner? That sounds like a brand name. Whatever they were, was it mimeograph? A purple copy of the thing that you wanted copies of would be stuck on this big roller, and you would roll it around and around and around, but the smell that came off it...
Yowza.
I mean, really. 0345 6060 973. Same kind of thing as those marker pens. That same sort of... that alcohol smell. Smells like victory. 0345 6060 973. Oh, I'm on about like 3 or 4 pens a day now, man. But I can handle it. I've just coloured the end of my nose, that's all. Croydon, Venky.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Nick. Hi. This is, what's the vernacular? Long-time listener, first-time caller.
There you go.
That's the one. Yeah, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Right.
I had 2 things I wanted to run past you.
Okay.
One was politics, and the other one was kind of entertainment-based. One is pseudo-politics, and the other one is entertainment-based.
All right, lay it on us, baby.
All right, I'll go with the pseudo-politics one first. Did you notice that His Highness, Mr. Charles, has just had a 50% pay rise?
His Highness.
Well,
That's just so silly, isn't it? I mean, that we're really still saying that nonsense out loud. Your Majesty. I mean, look at the man. No offence, but have you ever seen anybody who looks less magisterial than Chaz?
No. And then usually referred to as Mr. Sausage Fingers as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't believe that he's getting a 50% pay rise for a 15% reduction in work.
Yes.
And none of the usual sort of harumph geezers have been, standing out and going, the ones who've been going on about sort of, pensioners being frozen to death and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
None of them have said anything.
Well, that's because that is because the usual harumphing geezers are a bunch of hem sniffers.
And we all seem to kind of just take it. I'm just sort of stunned in some ways. We just can't just take it. We just kind of go, yeah, no, that's fine. That's
this
how it is.
Country needs to wake up. It's later than you think.
That. And if it was, if this had happened in France, for example,
they would have
Paris would
been met with what's the word? Not serious. They would have been met with a stern response. That'll do. God, I wish I had started on that sentence now. If you can't see the end of a sentence, don't begin that journey.
That's always a good point, Nick. That's always a good point. Can I go to my next point, please?
Sure, why not?
My next point was, I got, your show got recommended on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
And, I sort of went through it, and I kind of realized, this was in Denver, Colorado. I was sort of sleep deprived, and I was just, listening to it.
Yeah.
And I sort of realized that your show is really like a jazz improv performance. There is this, there is an intro, there's a sort of known intro, and if you take both the Friday and Saturday shows, not the Sunday one, Friday and Saturday shows, there's a sort of known intro, there's a rhythm to it, and as long as you follow through with the sort of the presenter's voice, as in yourselves, you can just go through it. There's sort of peaks and troughs to it, and it's exactly that. I mean, I thought...
And even the person that's playing the song has no idea where it's going. Yeah.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly that. I thought that was a great insight. I mean, this could also be because I was... how do I say this? Under the influence of medicinal herbs.
Oh, right. I see.
Booze.
Or something like that, yeah.
Exactly that. Yes, and the other one, the one that is legal in Denver.
Right.
So, yes. So I thought, that's probably something to think of. So, can I make one more sort of parenthetically, one more point?
Well, I don't know, because that's, you did say two, and we've had two already, but okay then.
I've just kind of, I've got teenage kids, and I've started sort of introducing you to them, so to speak, the full shows that come on Fridays and Saturdays. And so I introduced them sort of last week, and I came back and I said, how do you find it? And at the moment, they seem to sort of really like the cow noises and the...
Yeah.
and the humour about it.
The sillier end of the scale, right.
The sillier end of the scale.
Yeah.
But they do, but there is something else as well, which is kind of interesting, which is they seem to like the sensibility of it. So there is, you went on a diatribe last week about, I think I forgot what it was.
A rant.
A diatribe about it. And they kind of like it. And then before, putting them into the sort of the deep end of JOB or someone like that, I thought this might...
Yeah, they'd have to read some books before they listen to James O'Brien, yeah, but any old fool can listen to this show. Yeah.
Exactly that, yeah. So I thought, I'm spreading the word across. I'll come back again next week and see, they've shown it to some of their friends.
Right.
I'll come back again next week and see what they think about it.
Yeah,
so,
we'll chart their progress. Excellent work there, Venki. Can I recommend that you listen and get them to listen to the podcast that I do with Carol McGiffin?
Oh, right, yeah.
Because that really is like music. Because we bounce off each other, and neither of us have any idea where the podcast is going. I mean, literally, we do zero preparation. We open the mic, and then we just talk for 45 minutes, with no preparation of any kind whatsoever. We've got no clue as to what we're going to talk about, and that really is kind of like jazz. So it's called, write this down, What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol? All right.
All right, excellent. Thank you,
Okay.
Nick.
All right, thanks a lot, Benke. Another unsolicited testimonial. I'll be back after this break, assuming I live long enough.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Oh, blimey. A cup of tea for me. Lovely.
Just hot water.
Just hot water. Was it neat?
Yes.
Nothing in it?
No.
Okay, then. The sound that door makes, blimey. Can you believe that? Okay, so as a little aside, I wasn't going to talk about this, but that last chap did mention that the King is... His Majesty is getting a pay rise. It seems like old news to me, but I know that people have been talking about it on this station today. I don't know quite why, but in the absence of any other, important news, why not talk about this? The monarchy is to receive a financial uplift of more than £45 million thanks to booming Crown Estate profits. Just as the wealthy receive remuneration, and you and I get pay, so His Majesty receives a financial uplift, whereas you get a pay rise. Or more likely, you don't get a pay rise. His remuneration is jumping to more than £130 million a year.
What?
£130 million a year. The taxpayer-funded sovereign grant is going to increase by 53% for next year compared to this year. 53% pay rise. That is due to the Crown Estate profits having risen to £1.1 billion. The sovereign grant supports the official duties of the royal family, with a boost coming with the news that royal engagement costs went up by £300,000 despite a cutback in commitments. They did less and they cost us more. Officials said this increase will be used to help fund the final stages of the 10-year, £369 million renovation of Buckingham Palace. That's a weirdly precise number, don't you think? Not 370 million, 369 million. If it costs £369 million, when all the additions are done, then I will be stunned. If you believe that figure, I've got a bridge I'd like to sell you. I wonder if we'll be able to see where each and every penny of that £369 million has gone. Because, we'll be curious, won't we? Because it seems like a hell of a lot of money to tart up a building that already exists, £369 million. Legislation in 2026 will review the boost to his income to keep funding of the royal family at, quotes, a more appropriate level, a palace spokesman said. Appropriate? What does appropriate mean? It comes with the news that royal engagement costs went up by £300,000 despite a cutback in commitments. Sir Michael Stevens, Keeper of the Privy Purse. I mean, we really are descending into this is risible, isn't it? That's his job title, Keeper of the Privy Purse. He described the coronation as a glorious moment in our national story. OK, a couple of things. First of all, what's that got to do with it? And second, I don't remember it being that glorious myself. I remember it as being very boring and quite silly in a modern country. I thought, this is a lot of silly people who don't do much raiding the world's most expensive dressing-up box. And Graham Smith of Republic, which campaigns for an elected head of state, said, every year the official funding for the Royals just keeps going up. Yet the sovereign grant is just a small part of the estimated £345 million or more that the British people spend on the Royals every year. Let that sink in. £345 million per year that us poor dopes who pay taxes fund the one of the richest families that has ever existed. He said, add the profits of the two duchies, which are state assets, the bloated security bill and costs made by local councils around the country, and the total bill is huge. And those things are usually taken off. They're not included by people who are trying to kid on that, the royal family doesn't cost as much. The security, they don't add that. The local councils, they don't add that either. All those charities that spend about 3 months painting the entire building from top to bottom and spraying the grass green and making the world's most fabulous comestibles, so their majesties will just waft through and they won't notice any of that because it's always like that wherever they go. That costs a fortune. He said, by comparison, the Irish president costs us around €4 million. The royal family, 345 million. The Irish president, 4 million. A fraction of the cost of someone doing a similar job, but someone elected and accountable to do it. And we wouldn't notice the difference if we just cut them off. I mean, they'd still be getting hundreds of millions of pounds from what is described as their private estates. They'll be doing just fine. I mean, the king got 27 million quid just from his duchy estate last year. And they don't pay inheritance tax, like the little people, not leprechauns. And they only pay any tax at all by arrangement and in secret. Wouldn't that be nice? The taxman doesn't take the tax from your wages before you get it, but then you tell the taxman how much you'd like to pay. Wouldn't that be nice? And there was all sorts of details that came out at the time, like there's the royal train. £52,000 bill, despite being only used once in the last year. 52 grand. His Royal Majesty, King Charles, took the luxury locomotive on a 2-day trip to Pickering in North Yorkshire to mark the centenary of the Flying Scotsman in June last year. It was the third most expensive royal engagement over the 12-month period, after His Majesty's 5-day visit to Kenya and 3-day state visit to France. That train costs on average about £30,000 per journey. A Buckingham Palace spokesman said it still provides an effective and operationally efficient level of transport for His Majesty to perform individual duties. As though we're too stupid to question what they say. Yes, don't question us, peasant. It's operationally efficient. He used it once, it cost 52 grand. How is that effective and operationally efficient? They said it provides overnight security and thereby mitigates security costs of others. We have said that we will review the usage of the Royal Train during this reign, which is also nonsense. That it mitigates security costs. No, it doesn't. I mean, what do? Just park the train in a siding and hope that no one comes knocking? Or are there armed guards every 10 paces up and down the line for a mile in every direction? Reflecting on the monarch's journey on his mother's favourite locomotive, the Flying Scotsman's driver said of Charles, he said he enjoyed the trip. Oh, well, that's all right then. I should blooming well hope he did. 0345 6060 973. Oh, he's also a very, very green king. Very green. He's got a Bentley. He's got two, in fact, and they're to undergo a green makeover by being converted to run on biofuel within the next year as part of the monarch's wider Eco Drive. Eco Drive. The man lives in 3 palaces, 3 castles the size of palaces, and enough lodges, cottages, parks, halls and houses to sleep an army. A really big army. Like 1 army per room. And all of those places are staffed and cleaned and heated and secured all year, every year to His Majesty's specifications. But, he once turned off a light when he was leaving a throne room, so, he's saving the planet. The palace said the switch to biofuel is an interim measure, as the palace began discussions around the next generation of state vehicles being fully electrified. A spokesman said officials are yet to decide on the make of electric cars. Well, shall I go ahead and assume it's whichever fancy electric car company can be persuaded to give them some for free? And if you think that's unfair of me to say that, well, the Bentley they now use was given to the Queen by Bentley. But the King isn't stopping there. He's also going to upgrade his 2 helicopters so they run on less fuel.
What?
That's right. In order to have a lower carbon footprint, His Majesty is getting 2 new helicopters bought by us on the presumption that they're more eco-friendly. Also, they're newer and will doubtless be modified so as to fly their Majesties in the sort of comfort that they have always been accustomed to. And it's being sold to us as doing us a favour. You know what uses less fossil fuel? No helicopters at all.
Correct.
About 1.1 million quid was spent on 170 helicopter journeys made by members of the royal family last year. Made up of trips costing less than £17,000 each. 17 grand for a short trip on a chopper. Tell me a more expensive way to get around outside, apart from a golden carriage with horse-guard outriders. King Charles, he appointed a new head of sustainability last year to accelerate progress in reducing the royals' carbon footprint, resulting in a decrease of 3% in natural gas and heating emissions across the royal estate. Wow, a whole 3%. No member of the royal family was inconvenienced during the course of this saving. I bet they didn't even notice the difference. 3%. We appreciate it, Your Majesty.
Thank you.
Well, that's not what I wanted to talk about tonight. I'm easily led to the tower, probably. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on WhatsApp, it's the same number as the phone. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Hello, boys.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, 0345 6060 973. Let's dive straight in and have this call in York by a person called Jan. Hello, Jan.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
I am great, mate.
Very good. Couple of things. You're talking about people holding the phones up at concerts.
Yeah.
Am I remembering right? In the olden days, before everybody had a mobile phone, didn't they used to say no photos allowed?
Yes.
I thought they did. Well, why don't they do that now?
It'd be too difficult because the entire audience is taking a photograph.
Well, they could do something about it, I'm sure.
It's not just even they're taking a photograph, they're taking videos and they'll put them up online. Yeah.
Crackers, isn't it?
It's very, very annoying. I mean, it must be kind of irritating for the band, although I do know that some bands actually encourage it because you get famous or you get, eyeballs on your work if you put it online on social media and people see it and they think, oh, that looks good, maybe I'll go and see them or buy their record or whatever. So it's advertising. Yeah. But it's just annoying for the people who are there, who are trying to enjoy a concert, because you can't see the stage for this forest of arms in the air, all of which have got a bright screen pointing right at you if they're in front of you. It's just terrible. Somebody should definitely put a stop to that.
Definitely. And the second thing, I've just discovered that on YouTube, there are loads of your old shows from 2007. Did you know?
No.
Yeah.
2007?
Yeah, and a few from 2006, including the one where you lost your voice.
Oh. What, was that when I first came here?
Yeah.
Was that my first show?
Yeah, you were standing in for someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then somebody had to come and stand in for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bit of a panic because I hadn't done any work in ages. And I called because it was different owners, a different building. The whole thing was different. And I called the owner up, and just on a sort of, oh, well, all right, I'll just, I haven't worked in years. I might as well just call somebody up. And he said, oh, yeah, great, come along. And I'm like, oh, I've been sitting here doing nothing for years. Why didn't I do this before? And then finally I got there and I went on air and I knew that I was losing my voice. And just before I went, I got to the building, I stopped at a chemist and went in and asked for anything. Have you got anything for a sore throat? Something that's a bit more than a lozenge. And they said, yeah, here's this spray and it will numb your throat. And with just a moments before I went on air, I gave myself a good dose of spray and it just tightened up my mouth completely and no sound came out.
Yeah.
And so I had to abandon the show after about, 10 minutes? Something like that?
A bit longer, I think.
A bit longer, right.
Yeah.
And Wendy, I think, it was Wendy Lloyd, came and had to do the rest of the programme for me.
Took over from you, yeah.
Pulling my hair out, I was.
Well, I think it was this same show where a bloke rang up and said that he'd been locked out of his house.
Oh, yeah.
And you said that the best way to not get locked out was not to have a year lock and always have a key, that you could lock and unlock.
Yes, because at the time I lived in a place where you couldn't slam the door shut. It didn't have one of those latches. You actually had to lock the door on your way out, otherwise it would remain open, which I think is not a bad idea, although I get that the latch thing is security, but if you lose your key, then you're stuffed.
Yeah, but you got locked out yourself, didn't you, later on?
Yeah, I did. What an idiot.
I know. I've been locked out once. My sister had been down, and I was just letting her out, and I walked down to the garden gate with her, and I heard the door slam behind me.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, my God. Anyway, luckily, she doesn't live very far away, and she's got a spare key.
Ah. Well, that's that's easy. That's a hell of a lot easier than my experience, which you can hear on an old podcast. It's up there somewhere. It's called the one where I get locked out. Yeah, it was quite a scene.
Brilliant. Yeah, and while she was getting the key, took her about 10 minutes. I had to pretend I was doing a bit of gardening in the front garden,
So as not to look silly.
Exactly. But, yeah.
Yeah, I locked myself out in a T-shirt. I think it was January or February. It was absolutely freezing outside. So I ended up doing star jumps while I waited for the locksmith to come around.
Dreadful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Memories, what memories? I think that Locked Out show is on the best of, the Nick Abbot Habit, which is available as a podcast. That one it's a half an hour of old shows, comes out on a Monday. And if you scroll back far enough, you'll find the one that says the one where I got locked out. Yeah.
But I can recommend these old shows to anybody out there who hasn't found them.
Right.
Definitely have a look.
Yeah.
They're brilliant.
Have a gander. All right. Thanks a lot, Jan. Cheers, my dear. Ta-da. 0345 6060 973. Mickey says they should perhaps consider banning alcohol in pubs. That kills folks too, in regard to this smoking ban. Yes, Mickey, alcohol does kill, but only the person who is taking it. It doesn't kill the people who are sitting next to them, unless they're in a car, being driven by that person. This says, as a non-smoker, I take a line to banning things outside. Probably not the right way of putting it, but I see what you mean. He says, we all need to wise up and cop on, and that's coming from a Labour voter, says that anonymous texter. And, well, yeah, OK, well, you say you're a Labour voter. I'm not entirely convinced, Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous. And Pauline says, people quite happily sit outside pavement cafes sipping oat milk latte, eating croissant, and happily chatting with their chums while breathing in noxious diesel fumes from passing traffic, but get a whiff of cigarette smoke and oh my God, says Pauline. Now, I think you're completely wrong there, Pauline. People do not quite happily sit outside pavement cafes breathing in noxious diesel fumes. Nobody does that. What they would prefer to do is breathe in clean air. All these people whining about the smoking. Come on. And on that subject, this is the last message from last night. John says, Sir Keir is bang on. I can't stand it when I'm trying to poison my liver on a nice summer's day and there's people poisoning their lungs on the next table. Yeah, well, as I said before, the people poisoning their livers aren't doing it to anybody that's sitting around them. God, all of this. Shall I get into it now? I got pages and I got detailed files. Don't you worry about that. I'll take another call. See what happens. Bodmin. Hello, Malcolm.
Hello, Nick. How are you, sir?
I am great, mate.
You're going to regret coming to me to take this call before doing your whatever you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, and I urge you to listen to me.
I am listening to you.
And absorb what I'm saying and act upon it, Nick. Now, look,
yes.
You keep saying, but look, Labour have only been in for 5 minutes. Give them a chance and they're going to do this, they're going to do that. And I've come on twice in the last fortnight. I said, Nick, I'm concerned about early signs. Now, let me give you 2 early signs. Not specific to my super-duper knowledge about the Labour Party, because it's fairly widely known. This Labour MP who has mould in his flat.
Right, OK, that's not a Labour issue. That's a landlord issue.
Listen, Nick, listen to me. It's an issue for someone who is a Labour MP, who was a Labour councillor, whose deputy Labour councillor was one Wes Streeting in said council. Now, let's stop.
Let me stop you right there. Are you suggesting that the Labour Party at large knew about the issues as they've been described in those flats? Yes or no?
No.
Right, then move on.
What I'm saying is this, right? That before the election, there was a lot of talk about due diligence of people selected as MPs. Labour were going from the rooftops. And look, you know me, Nick. I've been talking to you for years and years and years. I'm as big a Labour supporter as anybody out there. And I'm starting to become very, very concerned about what I see as the Labour Party in government.
Okay. All right. Well, you got one example. You got one example that does not reflect widely on the Labour Party itself. What else have you got?
There's more. So the point I'm making is, Nick, right, that this one issue of mouldy flats is an issue that Keir Starmer has to go forward with. But let me throw another one.
Well, you know what? Okay, I absorb what you just said, and let's see what happens. Now, it's just been brought to our attention, and presumably the attention of the Labour Party at large. Let's see what happens, and then judge them on that.
Let me throw another one on you. It's on Apple News now, and I just started looking at the news while I was waiting to come out on and speak to you. And it's a story of Starmer again, and it's a top Starmer advisor. Now, Starmer gave a speech in the Rose Garden this week, made a huge play of the Rose Garden being brought back into service and being taken out of the partying circuit world, yeah?
What? Wait, what?
Starmer held a conference
in the back garden of number 10.
In the back garden at number 10. And one of the themes of this was we had taken back the Rose Garden because the Rose Garden was the scene of Boris Johnson's Partygate debacles and all of this, right? Now, this evening it turns out that one of Starmer's top advisors, I won't name him for obvious reasons, but it's out there on the internet all over the place. One of Starmer's recently made top people.
Yes.
A former
what did he do?
Hedge fund holder.
Right.
Was at this garden party.
Which garden party?
Starmer's given it large in the garden earlier in the week about this is the place which has now been taken back into service.
Yes. Which garden party was he at?
He was at the garden party which showed Boris Johnson and Dominic Cummings and Boris Johnson's wife.
Okay, but what's that got to do with taking the Rose Garden back and it's the future of that garden?
At that speech, Starmer was saying we are taking the Rose Garden back into service.
Yes.
As a space, as it is now, with me,
right,
with an invited audience of people, Nick, from around the country who helped in the Labour campaign to win the election. All you folks here, because of the service you give to the country, to the party.
And you're saying that he is not doing that because of something that happened years ago?
What I'm saying is, he was slating Boris Johnson's government.
Yes, quite rightly.
Having just made a very, very senior appointment, a business and finance advisor appointment to an ex. This fella has resigned as the hedge fund.
Right, well, I don't know anything about that.
To be, well, look it up, to be Starmer's new advisor, Nick. He's in number 10 with Starmer. And he was a party goer with Johnson, who is now a Starmer employee. That's what I'm making. So, Nick, what I don't want to hear is you, oh God, I sound horrible now. You keep saying, give them time, give them time, give them time.
Yeah, give them time for crying out loud. They've had just over 50 days, most of which the whole of Parliament has been on holiday. They haven't done anything yet.
No, Nick, what I'm saying is, I don't want to give them time. I want all of these things out in the open so that we don't go forward with Labour up to their neck in sleeves.
All right. Well, they would have to work 24 hours a day on just that one issue by just trying to cover themselves in sleaze to get even halfway towards what was visited upon this country by the previous administration. Ain't that right, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
I think you're hyperventilating there, Malcolm. Just take a pause and a breath, and we'll revisit this in 50 days. What do you say?
No, Nick, I agree with you. Look, and there's hyperventilation. I agree, right? But my point is this: I'm sick of. Well, I'm really happy we've now got a Labour government, having been sickened by the 14 years we've had. And already I'm having to read stuff, having had 14 years of disgust, and having now had 6 weeks of happiness, but a happiness to already have the edge been taken off it by finding out that in 6 weeks...
Have you ever heard anybody tell you you're too sensitive?
No.
I bet you have.
Never.
I bet you have.
Never.
Have you ever heard anybody tell you to calm down?
Never.
I bet you have.
Never.
Have you ever heard anybody tell you to take a chill pill?
I've had people tell me I'm insensitive, but never sensitive. No, Nick, look, all I'm trying to say is this, right? Last weekend, I give you a few examples of things that I didn't like. Now I've given you another 2 examples of things I don't like.
Is there anything you do like? Is there anything you do like? Is there anything you do? Is there anything you do like?
Yes, I like the idea that we've got a Labour government.
Right. Okay. Let's just end it on that. I knew that this was going to happen. I knew that the Tory press would immediately blame everything that is wrong with this country on the incoming Labour government. And I knew that the Tories, every single one of them, would pretend that they had not been in power for 14 years and blame every single thing that is wrong with this country on the incoming Labour government. What I was not expecting was that Labour supporters would do the blooming same. Let's just take a breath, shall we? Here's a good idea. To know where the direction of travel is, we really need for them to deliver us a budget, because that tells you pretty much all that you need to know, for the short term anyway. So let's get through that, and then we can set in concrete our complaints. What do you say? Thanks a lot, Malcolm. Gotta go. 0345 6060 973.
This is LBC. Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Some nobody.
0345 6060 973. Nathan says, I've just gone to visit Mum and Frankie in Glasgow. It's not raining. Can you believe that? My mum also says to mention that it wasn't even cloudy. Well, you're going to be getting a decent amount of that over the next couple of weeks in Glasgow. I mean, it'll be raining here and there, of course, but mostly sunny. You believe that? Nick says, I wondered how your precious Labour government is getting on. Has the Prime Minister managed to start smashing the gangs yet? 2 people have now died from stabbings at the Notting Hill Festival, and your Prime Minister is more worried about a couple of cigarettes in the garden of public houses. That's a ridiculous thing to say, Nick. Of course he isn't. Angela Rayner, she seems to be playing a game of hide and seek. Where is she? Don't panic, she's just been found dancing in Ibiza. She's on holiday. For crying out loud, people, calm down. It's absolutely comical. They came into power and then Parliament was dissolved. Not dissolved, everybody went on holiday. One of their recesses, one of their endless recesses. 6 weeks they got. They haven't actually done anything yet. Let them deliver a budget and then we'll know. Steve says, how dare Angela rain on her have fun on holiday? I mean, dancing to music and smiling. Disgusting behaviour if you're a pearl-clutching Tory oddball. Says Steve. Good on you, Ange. Rave on and rave hard before your knees go. That is just good advice. Thanks a lot, Steve. There you go. Somebody with a sense of proportion. And John says Slade are better than Oasis. Well, I mean, is it a contest? I don't know whether they're better. I'm glad that both are in the world. How's that? I'm not remotely interested in going to see Oasis. I wouldn't turn off some of their songs if they were on the radio, and I certainly wouldn't go out and buy any of their material, but I don't hate them or anything. They're just a boring live act. That's just a fact. They just stand there motionless, doing nothing. And Liam Gallagher seems to spend most of his time trying to be hard, like he's 12. It's just not a good look for a grown-up. It just looks silly. But he seems to have spent his entire life looking silly, so why change now? 0345 6060 973. Islington, Philomena.
Yes, Nick. Hi.
Philomena.
I always listen to you, and this is the first time I called.
Oh.
I felt I had to, because of your brilliant, excellent speech about the royal family. Well, I wrote to you a while ago saying, why don't you talk about the tax they don't pay like us?
No.
And, your speech was absolutely excellent. But now...
And by speech, I think you mean rant.
I think it was so good, I'm so
my
impressed.
Unhinged rant, yes.
No, not at all. Now, the point is, how do we proceed and try to do something practical? The first thing to do would be to halve the money the taxpayers give them. Another important thing would be to abolish the royal assent. But how do we do it? Because, you see, it's excellent for you to make this speech. But how do we actually... Is there a way we can actually do something about it?
Anytime anybody says anything negative about the royal family, it's almost like... Do you remember that Ray Harryhausen film, Jason of the Argonauts? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
You remember the scene where all the skeletons come out of the ground?
Oh, gosh, no, I don't.
Well, yeah, imagine this. Jason, out of the Argonaut, is walking around, minding his own affair, and then all of these skeletons come bursting out of the ground. It's a bit like that. Anytime anybody says anything negative about the royal family, all of these harumphing old geezers just burst out of the shadows and start screaming the place down that, the majesties are not to be interfered with, and it's all about patriotism and all that blooming nonsense. So I very much doubt that anything will ever change. I mean, after the Queen, who was universally admired...
not universally, not by me.
Well, OK. Quite a lot of people admired the Queen, both here and abroad. And after she departed and Charles took over, who was the exact opposite of her in every way, really. I mean, the Queen had some sort of mystery and magic about her. But Charles, he's a geezer that talks to vegetables. There's no magic there at all. So if there's no change from the public with that, and over and above that, he gets a 53% pay rise...
Yeah, well,
then,
it's absolutely disgraceful.
Then I can't see any change ever.
Oh, Nick, what shall we do? Emigrate?
I think we're just going to have to put up with it, Philomena.
Oh, no. Anyway.
Yeah.
Keep doing it.
I'll keep on keeping on.
Keep going. Okay. Well, anyway, You were brilliant, okay? Congratulations.
Well, thanks a lot, Philomena. Cheers, my dear. Another unsolicited testimonial. I am swimming in them. Derek says, Trump for president. Everybody knows who will be elected. Harris is quite simple. Yeah, that's right. Look up projection in the dictionary and it will have a picture of Donald Trump next to it. Absolutely everything that man says about anybody else as an insult is an admission of guilt. He just accuses other people of that which he is guilty. And the amount of people that he calls stupid.
People are laughing at us all over the world. They think we're stupid, and we are. I mean, we're being led by stupid people. We're being led by people that don't have a clue, they're incompetent.
Yeah, everybody is stupid apart from him.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
I'm like a smart person. He's a colossal ocean-going idiot. And the fact that half of America seems intent on voting for him is just astonishing to me. You know, that half. It's really quite amazing. I mean, how much evidence do you need? The grift just keeps on coming with that guy. He has to be the best con artist in the history of the human race. I mean, he's convinced more people than any other con artist in history that he's actually on their side. It's astonishing. I mean, the latest thing is, because he's tried everything. I mean, absolutely everything. He's tried selling the Bible. The Bible. I mean, who would think of making money selling the Bible? God talked to me. He said, God said, sir, he said, I want you to sell the Bible. It'll be fantastic. You'll have the best Bible ever. Everybody knows that. People are coming to me all the time and saying that. And now it's digital trading cards. $99 each. You don't get a card, it's a digital trading card. You get an email, presumably, with a file attached, and there's a picture of him as a superhero. Donald Trump. As a superhero. You know, the whiner.
I'm a whiner, and I keep whining and whining.
Yeah, the whining superhero. And if you buy enough of them, then you might get to eat near him at one of his tacky golf clubs. And by enough, I mean $24,750. Those who pay $24,750 buying these non-existent cards will get a gala dinner at his beautiful country club and a piece of a piece of his suit. Now, is it really from his suit? Well, it very much depends, I suppose, on the amount of mugs that he can get to buy this thing. And the amount of mugs in America seems almost limitless. I mean, poor people, poor, stupid people, seem willing to just hand over vast sums of money to a man who claims he's a billionaire.
I make $400 million a year, so what difference does it make?
Yeah, sure you do, Donnie. Sure you do. That's why you are trying this con on. This is the third time that he's done this. The third time that he's he's sold these digital cards, as in things that don't exist. You can't touch it, you can't feel it. Can't put it in a drawer, you can't take it out and look at it. You've got to fire up your computer and open a file on an email. I mean, good grief. How silly are these people? But if you do spend $24,750 on these cards, you will get 2 tickets to a gala dinner at his beautiful country club. Now, it doesn't say that he's actually going to be there, but you'll get the dinner. And the dinner will only cost you $24,750. How would you put it, Donnie?
I love the poorly educated.
He loves the poorly educated. They keep giving and giving. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. It's just past 11:30 on LBC. The news headlines with Serena Farrow.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
You know, some whack job can say this stuff and get away with it?
Yeah, apparently, yeah. If you say it enough, you could become the next president of the United States of America. 0345 6060 973. As an aside, I think it would be quite disappointing, professionally, if Donald Trump just fades away. Because what am I going to do with Kamala Harris? I mean, what can you do with that that's funny? There's nothing funny there at all. It's like there is a problem with the Labour Party, because none of them are funny either. I mean, this guy's funny.
Yeah. Wait.
I mean, he's an absolute catastrophic clown show, but, there's he says amusing things.
The great big greedy nincompoop.
The great big greedy nincompoop is actually amusing. And this woman was laugh out loud funny.
Absolutely.
I mean, really. And as for this guy...
My view is the change of leader requires a general election.
Requires.
I don't know anything.
Yeah, I believe you. I totally believe you.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
I believe you the first time. So, it was just a clown show, one after the next. If you didn't like that clown, here's another one. You didn't like that one? Well, here's another one. You want one in a different size? Okay.
This government...
That guy. A miniature clown. And it was just like a never-ending parade. It was like that, the conveyor belt on the Generation game. There's an up-to-date reference for the kids. Hang on. I don't know what I got about 3 months ago now, but it's still with me. I cannot believe it. Not that I'm complaining or anything.
Stop whining.
Yeah, all right then. But yeah, there is a problem that none of the new lot are funny. Like the Labour Party. What am I going to clip up of them? None of them are amusing. None of them are like cartoon characters. None of them look like they're in the Addams Family. And the same with the show in America. I mean, if Donald Trump loses and then he just becomes a sad, deflated ex-TV game show host, then how am I going to deal with Kamala Harris? There's nothing funny about her. Anyway, that's my problem. Leave it with me and I'll think it out. Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Oh, hi. Good evening, Nick.
Jan,
how are you?
I am great, mate.
Good. So I'm ringing. I've got about three areas to talk on. One is Trump and a bit about Kamala Harris and Musk. I'll start off with Trump. I'll do it in the order that I was telling Helena, isn't it? So the thing about Trump is that the Washington Post, I thought it was interesting, had a fact-checking team, the research group anyone can get them to do fact-checking research. The academics
right.
Who do it. So they did one on for the Washington Post on Trump, and they found out. I thought it's extraordinary that Trump made 30,573 false and misleading claims in his 4 years as president. I mean,
and the longer he went on, the more frequent they became. You would think that he would run out of lies, but they just became more numerous the longer he remained in as president.
Gosh, I mean, it's quite overwhelming, isn't it? And he's still at it now. I mean, he's but apparently, just a couple of points more about him, because they say he's still. I didn't know that he's still facing criminal charges to do with the Georgia thing about saying that checking that.
Yeah, no end of criminal charges.
Votes, isn't it?
If he doesn't become the president, then it's quite likely that he will. Well, he's never going to go to jail. He's too famous. He's too rich to go to jail. I would imagine, but that's where he belongs right now.
Well, he's very clever, Nick, because he's now trying to get the women back it with him. After that man, after his running mate talked about Vance, isn't it? Talked about the cat women. So, that went down really bad.
Childless cat women. Yeah.
Yeah, so Trump now is saying he wants to offer for women IVF, the fertilization treatment, free. And he's obviously looking to get the women on his, to win women votes. Although the Republicans are usually have got strong, that Roe Wade stuff. They're very anti-abortion.
Yeah. On the other hand,
I will be so great to women. I cherish women.
Yeah, he cherishes women with both hands.
Anyway, now shall I leave the Trump? So let
me give you an idea of exactly what Trump knows about women's bodies.
Right now, in a number of states, the laws allow a baby to be born from his or her mother's womb in the 9th month. It is wrong. It has to change.
It has to change that a woman has a birth after 9 months. He's very, very angry about that, and it must change. Here's another quote.
And in 6 states, you're allowed to kill the baby after the baby is born.
In 6 states, you're allowed to kill the baby after the baby has been born. I mean, this man is an ocean-going moron.
Yeah, but you know what they say? I actually didn't know this, but apparently, for when women want to have this IVF treatment to, if they can't have natural birth, the like test tube baby, isn't it? I mean, the intravenous fertilization.
Yeah.
In a test, all in
right. Yes.
They say that in order for one birth to be successful in that, there are thousands, maybe hundreds of fetuses or the birth. They say it's as bad as abortion. They say it's as bad as abortion because it's embryonic destruction.
Okay, well, I've got no idea. Anyway,
so leave it. I'll leave it aside. I'll tell you what I can I just say about Kamala Harris. I mean, they're very critical about her first major talk, but what I like what she said is this is just me saying, well, I thought it was great. That's what a powerful woman would say, I guess. She said, never let this is what stuck in my head, never let anyone tell you who you are. You show them who you are, which is what she's doing, isn't it, really? So that was about her. I won't say anything more about her. But I had to comment. I wanted to say something about Musk. Brazil has ordered a block on X. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I thought this is interesting because apparently he has the biggest. He has a huge base, 20 million X users in Brazil. So he's finding a way. He's finding a way around it. Like he will find a way around many things, maybe.
Elon Musk is finding a way around the ban in Brazil. No, I don't think so. I mean, people in Brazil could always use a VPN or something like that. But the issue of it is that if it's banned in a country, then you can't sell adverts on that site, which means that an already collapsing social media site is going to collapse even further because there's something like 100 million people in Brazil.
But it said something about what I was doing. They say it's because Musk has refused to have a legal representative, and I think Brazil wants it closed down because of the fake news and hate messages. To block certain accounts.
Why should the information that most of the people in the world consume? Why should it be owned by a handful of, let's face it, weirdos? The people that are running social media for all of the people on Earth are weird. Tell me that they're not. They're very, very strange people. They look strange, they speak strange, they act strange. And we have given all of the information, really, that we consume over the whole of the planet to those people. They control it. And they came out of nowhere. And I wouldn't defend any of the press barons, but at least they are accountable in some way. But these guys, these tech bros, they're not accountable to anybody at all, ever. And all they're interested in, it seems to me, is money. That's all they care about. M-O-N-Y. Get the K-A-S-H. That's all they care about. Despite the fact that they have more money than a million people could spend in their lifetimes if they stayed up all night with a credit card. Anyway, Jan, got to go. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on WhatsApp, it's the same number as the phone, 0345 6060 973.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbot. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
I would say he's incompetent, but I don't want to do that because that's not nice.
Thanks for being nice, Donny. You're the best. You're the best nice person ever. Stu says, in regard to Angela Rayner's dancing, are you dancing? And Nadine Dorries attacking her for doing that. Stu says, I think if Nadine Dorries is your critic, then you're probably on the right track. Yes. Yeah, that's a sign, isn't it? Nick says, Nadine Dorries is still sulking after being cancelled from Boris Johnson's honours list. Was she cancelled or was she never on it in the first place? I mean, what would that woman bring to the House of Commons? What would she bring to the Houses of Parliament for the rest of her life at our expense? Rachel says, hang on, the ex-Finnish Prime Minister Sanna Marin was also seen grooving in a nightclub a couple of years ago. Nothing but praise for her dancing skills. Grow up, UK. Yeah. I mean, I think that boat's sailed. I think that we're perpetually in a sort of an infantile state. But, yeah, wouldn't it be good if we could just grow up? Sue says, good to see Angela Rayner relaxing and enjoying a break. Work and play are separate, and Angela has a life to live like all of us. She is fabulous, says Sue. 0345 6060 973. Dewsbury. Abigail.
Hi, I just wanted to say something. You know, you had that Welsh guy on earlier about business advisors. So I thought I'd check the story out. And it's only the Sun that's rolling it. And we all know the Sun isn't exactly not biased, right? But it turns out, right, that when Boris Johnson on his Partygate, this dude was a business guy and he was invited by civil servants there, right? The point is, right, he's not Labour. What Keir Starmer is using him as a business advisor, just like any other politician can use anybody as an advisor if they're part of, like, they've got their credentials and that, right? So that guy is going, I don't want to be like Labour. You know, I've had enough of it, all these whinges and whiners. And I've had enough, right, because this has been, and I'll tell you what, as soon as Labour got into power, right, these riots and everything you saw, this is orchestrated from people at the top that don't want Labour in power. Well, it's obvious what's happening.
I don't know.
It's obvious that this is going on.
Abigail, that might be stretching it a little bit, but I agree with everything you said up to that point. People are expecting too much. It's absolutely ridiculous. I know that the nation couldn't stand it anymore and we wanted things to change for the better, but nitpicking every single thing that they do before Parliament has actually got down to work. I mean, they've been on holiday almost the entire time since they've been in power. To give them a break, for crying out loud, let's wait for 100 days, which to me is still too short, but it's a nice round number, and that's what people usually do. They review the situation after 100 days.
But why do they put Labour in, like, any fact? So whenever Conservatives do anything, right, they can get away with stuff. But whenever Labour have to be on some sort of, like, they have to be on, like, puritanical sort of, like holy grail of, like, angels. You know what I mean? Why?
Yeah. Why
do we do that?
Well, the reason why is because the people who own the means of production of the mass media in this country and every other country, come to that, are friends of the Tory regime. That's their side.
But did you see an amazing, you've got to see it, check it out, Carol Vorderman, she did this Taggart interview, like a stand-up for the media in Edinburgh Fringe, it was, festival. Yes. It's on YouTube, check it out, right?
I saw a little bit of it.
I watched it. She stood up and said that only 14% of people read the press, right? Yeah. So why are we giving, every day we give a press readout of papers, right? 14%. It's minuscule. Why are we even allowing their opinions to shape? Because this is the problem. What we're seeing now, when we're seeing in the countries like Europe and Germany and everything, all these far rights and all right, what it is, right, is that they are losing their power, and this is their last bastion, especially with Donald Trump and all that, it's their last bastion of getting that power. Well, we can do it, guys. Stop ignoring them, and eventually that'll go.
Yes, but the people who hold control of social media are also, by a large number, they have joined the dark side.
Yes, well, we do need laws as well. I feel like Starmer. People going, oh well, he's very tyrannical. Well, I think Starmer should show, like Brazil can do it. We need to show. Maybe we should switch off Twitter. I don't know. Maybe we need to, because they fueled all the riots. I think something has to be done, especially how he was able to even interfere with stuff.
Yeah, he needs to be held to account just like anybody else that publishes material. And I think that it would be beneficial for the entire human race to turn off not just Twitter, but social media in general, but maybe Twitter specifically. It would give you so much time in the day to do something that's more pleasant. And I spend my day looking at social media because that's my job, to come up with things to say about things that people are talking about. And so it's very useful for me. But if I didn't do this job, I would not spend so much time on it, because it doesn't make you happy. It doesn't actually teach you anything, hardly at all. It just makes you angry. And that's what it feeds on. It feeds on people's anger, because what keeps you tuned to that site? It's not happy pussycat and puppy dog videos. It's things that people say that make your blood boil and that you want to pick a fight with them.
Well, thanks for talking to me, but I will say one thing. I just want to say one thing, right, before I go.
Yeah.
You know how people talk about, they ring your radio up and they go, oh, Donald Trump's great, right, and he's brilliant for America. Well, you've got to watch this person on YouTube, right? It was really good. He went to Trump Towers, you know, where they've got he sells all his, like, socks and whatever, you know, you can buy if you want to buy stuff, right, in New York, Anyway, he secretly films it, right? He goes in, every label is made in China.
Made in China.
Every label is made in China, right? So all this, I want to make America great again. I want to put money back to America. All the stuff that is fleecing his idiots that buy this stuff, like Trump stuff, that he makes money out of, all made in China.
Right.
So, and it was on this YouTube video, and it was showing that, and I thought, you know what, right? You know what? That shows you're right. He's the biggest grifter. Yet, so how come all these people defend that? Even if you show them the evidence, how come they cannot even
I have the answer.
Understand that?
I know the answer to that, and it is because he is not a political leader. He is a cult leader. They have joined a cult, and there's no way of talking people out of it any more than there's a way of talking people out of their religious belief. You can't tell people who believe in God that God does not exist, because they will come up with something that in their minds proves that he does. He or she or it. Entertaining talking to you, Abigail. Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Can I squeeze one more in before the news? I'll try my best. York, Claire.
Oh, hi, Nick.
Claire.
I don't know how to follow that brilliant caller you just had. I just wanted to call up and thank you, really, for keeping it real. I was, like your last caller, I was encouraged to call because of what Malcolm said. I just think, oh, my God, I can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
Every time I switch on the TV or radio, it's just wall-to-wall demonisation of the Labour Party, and I think, my God, we've just been through 14 years of hell, and they're not even being given a chance. I mean, all week it's been about this Labour peer, who's been a peer for over 20 years, helping in number 10 for transition, and he gave Starmer a pair of glasses, and it's like, oh my God, sleaze, cronyism. You know, have people forgotten that Hester, who threatened to shoot Diane, got 500 million in contracts for a 15 million pound donor?
I don't actually recall any of that, but you've been way too specific there, Claire. But yes, overall, you are completely correct in every respect. People have just got to calm down. Stop being whipped up by the right wing, who are so predictable. I mean, I said that they were going to do all of this before the election when it looked like the Labour Party were going to win, and they're doing precisely it. They're blaming the Labour Party for everything that is wrong with the country and pretending that the Conservative Party have not been in power for the past 14 years. And people are buying it. It's like they didn't even pause for breath. The moment that Keir Starmer was elected, there was, here is a list of the things that are his fault. The economy, the bins in my road that aren't being collected, there's potholes in the road, that's Keir Starmer's fault. There's that whole Meghan Markle issue, that's him too. It's just absolutely excruciating. I can't stand it anymore, Claire.
Oh, I can't either. It's just getting ridiculous. And and this week the IFS came out and said that the budgeting had been so poor and hadn't been declared that they've spent all the reserves, which is only meant to be used in absolute emergencies. And yet still the Tories have been out every single day this week saying that Labour are lying about the black hole when the IFS and the OBR is investigating the fact that the Tories didn't declare all their spending. Yes. And even on Newsnight they were entertaining the idea that Labour were lying about this black hole.
Okay, well, the TV news has to stop paying attention to what the newspapers say, because the newspapers are written by partisan people who are not writing what they know to be the truth. They're writing what they think they want you to believe in a lot of cases. But there is a case to read the papers, a selection of the newspapers and social media, and from like a wide variety of sources, then you could probably get some kernel of the truth. But if you only pick one of those, if you only get your news from YouTube or any other social media site, or just The Sun or The Mail, or even The Guardian or The Mirror, then you're probably not getting a full picture. So just consume a lot of stuff and try and do so with an open mind. And for crying out loud, just give the Labour Party at least 100 days. Let's get through the budget, and then we can stop hyperventilating about what they might do and complain about what they have done. How does that sound?
Well, I mean, on your news headlines, it gave a list of the things Labour want to do this week, in the first week of Parliament, and I thought, God, that sounds fantastic. Yeah. Getting on top of the water companies, and I've forgotten the list now, but it sounded great. I thought, yes. And yet they're just barking on about Angela Rayner taking a few days off before she starts work next week. I mean, she's been working all summer. She's been interviewed countless times on the news, but she takes a few days off to go to Ibiza. Good on her. That's all I can say.
And when they are concentrating on that, not just for one day, but for several days in a row, then you know they haven't got anything. That this is desperate flailing around by the right wing, who cannot get used to not being in power because they think that they are born to rule. And when the public, the stupid public, are so unkind as to remove them from their position of power, well, they're a bit dazed. They can't quite believe it. And so they're busy trying to find something to, they're throwing haymakers, hoping that something's going to hit to someone's jaw. But so far, they're just hitting air. Thanks a lot, Claire.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global. Leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Oh, hello.
Wondering what it's all about, and I can't tell you because I don't know myself.
Okay, it's about Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson these days is making what no doubt he would describe as chicken feed by writing a silly column in the Mail. And, of course, he had to bang on about Skier moving Maggie's portrait, because that's the most important thing in the world right now. He said, I bet Maggie's portrait is glad it no longer has to share an office with Starmer Chameleon, the only PM in history to look at the world through sleaze-tainted specs. The only PM in history that has the word sleaze appended to them. Boris, really? Can you think of another smug?
I don't know anything.
Right, he's keeping quiet. How about you, Liz?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Was it you, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
Starmer was sitting in the Thatcher room, says Bodge, her former office on the first floor of number 10, and his eye was drawn to the painting above the fireplace, draped with pearls. OK, a couple of three things. There's no such thing as a Thatcher room in number 10. It might be what people call it unofficially, but it's not called the Thatcher room. But, that's just a detail. But you can't get the detail right. You're bound to be trustworthy in respect of the rest of the article, no?
No.
He didn't ever approve of Margaret Thatcher, says Mr. Blobby. He hated the way she took on and defeated the unions. He despised the culture of aspiration and opportunity that she encouraged. He isn't remotely concerned about setting loose our natural entrepreneurialism. How do you help business by imposing a huge new raft of workers' rights? Says Mr. Boris Johnson. Yeah, can you imagine that? Workers' rights. How awful. He and Rachel Reeves have been completely exposed for the lies they have told about the state of the UK economy, says Blobby, which has proven to be correct, everything that they said. There is one reason and one reason only why taxes are going up, and that is the catastrophic economic policies of the Labour Party. Yes, Boris Johnson, let's forget about the 14 years of Tory misrule, the lying, the cheating, the stealing, and concentrate on the past 12 weeks. You really do think we're stupid, don't you? Yes. And then he really goes off the deep end. He says, this is a man whose very glasses have been paid for by a Labour donor, a businessman called Lord Alley, who was given a pass after the election to come and go in number 10. Did Starmer know about it? Asks Blobby, even though he received an eye-watering £2,485 from Alley for his specs, not to mention $16,200 for his suits, says Boris Johnson, who is in a state of high dudgeon. He's absolutely furious about this sleaze, which is very interesting. As an aside, Boris Johnson, could you tell us more about that young woman that you placed in the House of Lords for life at our expense after doing what appears to be not very much for you in your office for a very short while? Could you expand on your relationship with Lord Bamford, the subject of a long-running investigation by HMRC, who seemed to be keeping you as a pet for a while there? Feeding you, housing you, taking care of your every need. Can you recall who you wanted to pay for your gold wallpaper and your hideously patterned, vastly expensive furniture? Can you tell us about who owned that mansion you took a free holiday in Mystique that was paid for by a Tory donor who apparently didn't even own the house? Can you recall where you were on the night before the funeral of Prince Philip, at which the Queen sat alone because of the COVID rules that you enforced but didn't follow? I mean, I could go on listing these sleaze under Mr. Blobby's watch, but I only have a brief 3-hour show. He said Thatcher was the polar opposite of this fella. She believed in free markets, in liberty and democracy around the world. She believed in thrift and effort and low taxes. She believed the state should allow people and their families to get on with their lives. She stuck to her beliefs. She got things done. She changed this country for the better, says Boris Johnson. Well, she changed this country forever. She privatised everything that used to be ours. Now the trains are always late and the most expensive in Europe. The water companies have poisoned every river and seashore in the land and want more of our money to clear it up. The oil companies have stolen the wealth that the Norwegians, who had a similar-sized oil deposit, kept for the benefit of their people, which is why Norway is the fourth richest country per head of population in the world and has a $1.3 trillion wealth fund, the biggest wealth fund in the world, which came of all that oil. That's Norway. While we, with a similar-sized oil reserve, are in 31st position. They're fourth, we're 31st. Wealth per head. And we have nothing. We have no wealth fund. We just got huge bills to show for our oil deposits, all thanks to Margaret Thatcher and Thatcherism. So, yeah, she changed the country, but not for the better. Unless you're one of the few billionaires who made out like bandits because of the Big Bang deregulation of the banking racket that plunged the world into the last financial collapse and will likely do the same for the next one. Because the bankers have learned their lesson, which was that they can do anything they like. And if their bets fail, we poor dopes who pay taxes will pay them their losses back. And as for selling council houses, you know about 40% of the council houses sold now are in the hands of private landlords and are being rented out for their profit, whereas before they were held for the benefit of the nation. So yes, Thatcher changed the country all right, but not for the better. And Mr. Blobby ends with this, because this is who he is. He says, Starmer, 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 chameleon, goes the song. He comes and goes, he comes and goes. If things carry on like this, the sooner he goes, the better. Says the worst Prime Minister we ever had in this country. And that's what he spends his time doing these days. Acting like a pound shop Trump, trying to come up with insulting nicknames for the other side. How to describe him?
The great big greedy nincompoop.
Nutshelled it there for me, Bodge. Wanted to get that off my chest for about 24 hours now. On the other hand, John says the Bay City Rollers are better than Oasis. Well, OK, that line is you've just gone too far there. That's just not true. This text says, I bet Oasis cancel the gigs, refund the money, and keep the interest on the money that was in the bank till the first gig. Well, I'd be kind of surprised if they managed to get through the whole lot, wouldn't you? On that subject, Peter says, my daughter tried this morning to get tickets, was 37,000 odd in the queue for £79 tickets. She held on for hours, and while waiting, she painted the living room walls. When it came to her turn, they'd sold out of the cheap tickets and was offered tickets at £500.
What?
£500. Says, lucky my daughter declined as she wasn't wasting money. That's a smart daughter there, Peter. 0345 6060 973. Oldbury, Ranjit.
How are you, Nick? You okay, mate?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure.
You're okay. Listen, I want to talk about how good people become dinglings, yeah? Okay?
Okay.
I've been listening to the radio and they're saying, oh, Keir Starmer's punishing the pensioners because they normally vote Tories. How stupid can you say that? Nobody wants to lose any votes, right? So, I mean, he's turned around and people have said, even if you've voted Tories, I'm your Prime Minister, so I will help you, yeah?
I very much doubt that he's going to do what he said he's going to do. It could be one of those things where he just... The announcement was blurted out. They didn't really think carefully about it, and now the full ramifications have been brought to their attention. They're going to change it or finesse it in some way. The other way to look at it is perhaps they're managing expectations. It's like if you ask me for a pay rise, Ranjit, I'll say to you, well, my first offer is I'm going to cut your pay by half and kill a random member of your family. That is my final offer. And when you actually get 1% instead, after months of negotiations, then you'll feel like you've won.
Yeah. The thing is, he's got to test the waters a little bit, yeah? And the one thing that's really annoyed me all day today, right, is, when they've been talking about that, I'm on your side on this one, yeah? about the guy with the land. He's a landlord and an MP, right?
Right.
The thing is, he's got an external business, and that's what that is. And how many other Tory MPs had external businesses, had business which were worth 70, 80 million pounds?
Yeah, just to be clear, hang on a minute. Just to be clear, I'm not defending this guy. I don't really know very much about it. It wasn't a story that I read a lot about. But if what I know is true, I'll talk in generalisations. If if a landlord is renting out a flat that is not fit for human habitation, then that landlord should face the full might of the law, and without impediment to jail time or whatever is necessary to fix the problem. And that doesn't have nothing to do with being a Labour or a Conservative or monster raving loony party. It's the landlord and the state of the property part that what is concerning me, not what political party he belongs to.
I totally agree with you, because he's employed a management company, right, to look after his affairs, right? Now, if they haven't done the job, they should be the first line of punishment, right? Not him. No. And they keep on going on. And nearly every presenter on LBC today are making him the biggest landlord in the Houses of Parliament. Well, he's got 15 flats. What's that? That's no big deal compared to, say, 70 million pounds.
Yeah, Jeremy Hunt has a massive portfolio. A considerable number. It's like 30-40% of the Conservative Party in the last government were landlords.
Yeah, but this is how they, are subliminally, I keep using that word, putting in our heads, right, that Labour are the new nasty party, and they're not. They haven't done anything yet.
Not yet.
I can see, not yet, right? And I know you said to everybody it's 50 days, wait another 50 days, right? I can wait 5 years. And I know this is going to be a good thing. I've spoken to people who are really extreme left in the Labour Party, and they're even saying, listen, Keir Starmer's doing a good job, right? Because
well, I don't think he's done any kind of job yet. I genuinely don't think that you can really determine how a government is doing until they at least get through their first budget to tell us what money they're expecting, how they're going to get it, and what they're going to do with it.
Well, at the moment, he's just looking at how much rubbish there is first, right? He's evaluating how much rubbish has been left by the last regime,
Trying to dodge the bombs that they've buried here, there, and everywhere in order to bring down the new government.
Yeah, and then even the people, good presenters today, And I try to get on earlier this afternoon, but then obviously I wanted to wait so I can speak to you. When they were calling him the biggest landlord, oh my God! Nearly every MP has got outside interests, haven't they? Is there any MP that just does be a member of Parliament and does nothing else? I don't think there is. Out of the 650, is there, Nick?
Jeremy Corbyn.
Jeremy Corbyn.
I'd have to check on that, but I think maybe Uncle Jezza doesn't have any of that stink on him.
No, but remember the last time when they done a massive investigation on him and they found out he owed £72 to the Inland Revenue. You know what I mean? I mean, okay, if you want to look on the other side, then look at, what you call it, Nigel Farage,
Oh.
How many days has he been to Clacton?
I honestly don't know, but I'm guessing that it's one, because if he hadn't been at all, then that would have been a mark against him. So I'll assume it's one.
Can we put a tag on him, right, so we can trace him where he goes? We should, Well, okay, I'll tell you what. Let's me and you start a movement, right, that every MP is going to be tagged, right? And we can trace their movements, every single MP, right? Let's see how, when they go, I want to be whiter than white, Come on, then we'll tag the whole lot of you.
We want evidence.
See where you go.
Right.
And then this thing about Claire, Angela Rayner, they're going on about her. Ain't a person allowed, right? They've spent, 10 years, 15 years in opposition. They've worked hard to win. And then straight away they've gone into the summer recess, But can't they have a break?
It's just so ridiculous. This story is so utterly ridiculous that I just can't bear even thinking about it. Boris Johnson, there's a video of him, dad dancing with a black woman whose name I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen that one, yeah.
Right. It's just absolutely excruciatingly embarrassing. Michael Gove, there's a video of him dancing late at night in some out-of-the-way place in Aberdeen. Therese Coffey, dancing and singing loudly to "I'm Having the Time of My Life," just after reducing people's universal benefits. I mean, there's no end of embarrassing videos of Tories dancing, but they're pretending, as they're pretending that they haven't been in power for the past 14 years, that they've never done anything of the sort. The story is just utterly ludicrous.
This just shows that they've got no ammunition.
Zero.
They've got absolute zero ammunition.
None
so
at
they're
all.
clutching at straws, yeah? You know what I mean?
It's like Trump in America. He's got no ammunition against Kamala Harris. He's got absolutely zero. So he's tried to find something that rhymes with Kamala, and he tried Kama Blah, as in Kama Black, because he only just found out that, or according to him, she just decided to turn black.
But he's turning himself to Scottish as well now. He's been talking about how his mum's from Scotland.
Yeah.
You know, talking about America, you know, when they want to appoint somebody from the opposition, into their cabinet, why don't they appoint somebody from the Red Indian community? The natives, the proper ones from America?
You kind of lost me there a bit. So
Kamala Harris
has
said that if she becomes president, she's going to have a Republican in her cabinet as an honorary person or something like that. And I think that's Sam Clinton done it.
Right. I didn't know that was the case. I would have imagined that she said she wouldn't be against doing that, and working across the aisle for the benefit of the American people, which Trump absolutely, the Republicans generally absolutely refused to do. You know, when Barack Obama became the president, what's his name? That Fay Southerner.
I don't know.
Yeah, anyway, he came up to Obama, and Obama was saying, this will be great to work with you, on things that will be of benefit to the nation. And the guy, Lindsey Graham, that's
Lindsey Graham,
He said, are you kidding? We're not going to work with you on anything. We're not even going to help you do things that we want.
That just shows them they want to throw their toys out the pram. So they're not really, they're not for the country, other than just in for themselves.
Yeah,
but
individual first, party second, country way last.
Way last, right? The thing is, like sometimes your opposition can come up with a good idea, right? And you should agree with that idea and say, yes, come on, let's get on with it.
Yes.
Right? I mean, the only time that I've ever seen, I've never seen a world war, and I hope I don't see one, right? But when all the politicians worked together was, when they had the expenses scandal, right? Because they all had their snouts in the same trough, so they stopped throwing mud at each other then. Right, and
well, then it became it wasn't us and them, the Tories versus Labour. It was all of them versus all of us.
That's it. That's in a nutshell.
Yeah, they closed ranks. Yeah.
Right. So now, even like that, that Rees-Mogg, he made so much money out of Brexit. He made so much money out of Russia.
Well, he would say that he didn't because it was all in a blind trust, and he has nothing to do with it. Yeah. And
So the thing is, Nick, if you want to do a massive scandal, right, the best thing to do is have Ranjit as your partner, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You make billions, right?
I like this. I like this so far. Go on.
Yeah, and when you get caught, you say, "Well, I had nothing to do with it. Ranjit was the one that signed all the paperwork."
You are definitely going to jail if that's any help. I'll visit you once in a while.
I'll go to jail for a bit. I'll send you a visiting order.
Yes.
Right, and then I'll encourage you then with my money, right, to say, let's release prisoners who have never committed any violence. Yeah. So me and you wouldn't have committed. Well, you haven't done anything.
Yeah,
I'm the one that's made all the money.
I'm not sure about that, Rand. Once you're inside, I'm not sure I'll be taking your calls anymore. I gotta go. Thanks a lot. 0345 6060 973 LBC.
LBC. Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbot. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Everything is going extremely well.
You bet your life it is. Some messages. How many of these have I got? So many. How do you like the sound of that mouse, by the way? That is studio silent. Mark says, fear of being without your phone is called nomophobia. Is it? Well, people should get used to nomophobia. When they go to gigs, they really should start bringing that in, because I've seen it and it really works. You get a little bag and it automatically closes around your phone, and you don't get into the event unless you give your phone to a person. They put it in a bag, close it up, you can't get it anymore, and then they give you the bag back. So you don't have to leave it anywhere, because that would freak people out. If you had to actually leave your phone and they put it in a box and it was and it waited there until you were ready to leave, well, people would be they'd be beside themselves. Are you kidding? I've got nomophobia. No, you put it in a bag and then you can't get it anymore, and then you enjoy the gig as it used to be, you know, with your eyeballs looking straight at the performer, not on a blooming 3-inch screen that's all wibbly wobbly just for the benefit of putting it up online so you'll get a like from someone you don't know. It's just what a waste of money and time, apart from anything else. Shahaf says, a few years ago I visited friends and their teenage son was wearing a Nirvana t-shirt. I told him he smelled like Teen Spirit, and by the look he gave me, I realised he'd never heard a single Nirvana song. Apparently he bought the shirt because it's vintage. I never felt so old, says Shahaf. Well, I'm getting that feeling all the time. Because, like I was saying yesterday, it's almost like an email went around the kids, and they decided overnight that they all were going to look like they were members of the Stone Roses and the Happy Mondays. I mean, they've all got their bucket hats on and their oversized shirts and their formless, stone-washed jeans, and it just looks terrible. It looked terrible the first time around. It looks doubly terrible now. But it doesn't occur to me when I see somebody like that it is vintage, because your mind just closes that 24-year gap. I mean, I see people in, like, Keith Haring T-shirts. There was one in this building the other day, and I said, nice T-shirt. And to me, it was, like, right on time. But people haven't been wearing a T-shirt like that for 20 years. Like Stussy hats, they're back. All of that stuff. Yeah, it seems current to me, but it's not. It's vintage to them. They weren't born then. That does really bring home the passage of time, don't it? And I was mentioning earlier on that I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin.
Oh, right, yeah.
And on the one that's coming out on Monday, we were talking about this Oasis thing, because we record them ahead. We record on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the Tuesday comes out on Friday, and the Thursday one comes out on Monday. And the one coming out on Monday was recorded on Thursday when that Oasis thing had just happened. And in order to annoy her, I started singing Oasis songs. And my punishment is that ever since I did that, I've had champagne supernova in the sky running around my brain. And I haven't been able to get it out. It's an earworm. And Rona says, and I mentioned that, how do you get an earworm out? You have to replace it with another one. How about chirpy, chirpy, cheep, cheep? Ooh-wee. Nobody who's wearing a bucket hat or a Stussy shirt remembers chirpy, chirpy, cheep, cheep, that's for sure. That's never going to come back. But Rona says, unbelievably, I always use chirpy, chirpy, cheep, cheep as an earworm antidote. Well, it's the kind of thing that just might work. Or there's that song, Popcorn. Remember that? Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. That. Now, if you do know that song, then it is quite likely that I have just inserted that in your head, and you won't be able to get rid of that one now. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yvonne says, when you get a tune in your head and you want to get rid of it, you're meant to sing Happy Birthday to blot it out. I think you need something a bit more annoying than that. And Nick says, to clear an earworm, you need to sing God Save the Queen. The King, rather. I still haven't got used to that. Sorry, Your Most Fabulous Majesty, but I still haven't got used to that whole King thing. You need to sing God Save the... OK, let's have a group sing-along, shall we? What an inspiring tune. 0345 6060 973. If that makes you proud to be British, no?
No.
You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on WhatsApp, then you can WhatsApp us. It's the same number as the phone. 0345 6060 973. It's 12:30 on LBC, the news headlines with Serena Farrow.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
You're joking.
0345 6060 973. I do want to talk about the smoking thing, because that is the other major non-news story that the right-wingers have been going apoplectic about, frothing at the mouth in the absence of anything to actually get worked up about. And so they're all concentrating on Angela Rayner doing the disco dancing and people not being able to smoke outside a pub. And, of course, the Clacton gas bag, he had to stick his oar in.
I'm a nutcase.
Yeah, of course he did. Of course he did. So I'll come to that in a minute. Let's see now. Derby. Hello, Simon.
Hello, Nick. I've got a couple of Trump things, a new one and an old one about Trump. I don't know if you saw the earlier on this week, the AI Trump-Harris romance video.
No.
Oh, well, your assistant's had a look at it. She found it for you on the internet. Have a look in a bit. Oh, my God, it's horrendous. It's quite scary, this AI stuff, because it does look very realistic.
Yes, and this
shows them walking down the beach holding hands.
Oh, no.
And then it flicks to them very deeply tonguing each other.
Oh, no.
Then it flips to... The next picture is Kamala Harris heavily pregnant. And then she's holding a mini baby Trump. Oh, my God, it's absolutely vile.
And this isn't cartoon. It looks real.
It's real, yeah. Wow. It's like a video, the beginning bit, then the other bits are like still photos, I think. But the beginning bit with them holding hands and staring at each other, all googly-eyed. Oh, my God.
It really is alarming, because as real as it looks now, this is nothing compared to how it's going to be, because we're at the foothills now. This has only just been invented, this on-demand AI video creation thing.
And it's already scary. It's very difficult, isn't it, to tell the real from the fake.
It is alarming, yes. I mean, it used to be in the hands of, major movie producers. Like, if you wanted to make a dinosaur, then go ask Steven Spielberg, and he'll spend
look how much they used to spend on it.
Yeah, he'll spend £100 million making a film out of it. But now, any bloke in their underwear in their bedroom can dial up... some AI bot, and it will create what you've just described.
Yeah, I mean, your assistants will show you. You'll die.
I don't think
I laughed my head off and then felt a bit ill.
Yeah, I don't think I want to see that.
Yeah, you can't unsee it, that's for sure.
Right.
The other one is just an old bit. I've been reading a book about a PR guy in America, and it mentions a bit about Colonel Gaddafi back in 2009, I think it was. He was going to the UN to give a speech. It's when he'd sort of been let off the hook a bit, and they were trying to let him redo himself. And he was trying to find somewhere to pitch his Bedouin tent in New York. And because of Pan Am coming down in Scotland and it being full of Americans, most of which were from that area, nobody wanted to touch him with a dirty barge pole.
Yeah.
They found one previously not orange, yellow-haired man who put his hand up and let him pitch his tent for 50 grand.
A non-orange, yellow-haired man?
Yeah, well, he's orange now, but he was non-orange then because...
Yeah, he was using a different blusher or concealer.
So he sort of showed the
is.
future self of him, didn't he? He doesn't really get bothered about vile dictators, does he? So
not only is he not bothered with them, he wants to be one.
Well, it's probably showing an early inclination, that he was the one who let him put his tent up there.
Yeah, okay.
We should have seen it then, shouldn't we?
Well, yeah, exactly right. All right, well, thanks for the bad news there, Simon. I've got a visual image of what you just described, with Donald Trump holding hands with Kamala Harris, but I just don't think I can stomach seeing it for real online. But thanks for the advice. And coincidentally, the former Trump National Security Advisor, H.R. McMaster, has written a new book and said that the president was treated like a chump by a string of authoritarian leaders.
Don't be rude.
A chump, Donny. H.R. McMaster, a lieutenant general, H.R. McMaster, a lieutenant general, writes about an almost 2-week-long trip to Asia in his memoir, saying that China was the most consequential destination. On their way to Beijing, McMaster cautioned Trump that Chinese President Xi Jinping would attempt to trick the then-president into saying something that was positive for China, but would in effect be bad for the US and its allies. He said the Chinese favourite phrase, win-win, actually meant that China won twice. McMaster wrote that he told Trump, and while Trump appeared to listen at the time, he said that he agreed with Xi Jinping that military exercises in South Korea were provocative and a waste of money, and also suggested that China could have a claim to the Senkaku Islands, which belong to Japan, a US ally. As his stomach sank, McMaster wrote in a note to the then Chief of Staff John Kelly that a general that Xi Jinping ate our lunch. All you have to do is just flatter Donald Trump. Just tell him he's a smart person, that he's got great hair, and he has really big hands, and he'll do anything you want. Do all that and write him a check for $1 million, and he'll do it all twice. The former Trump National Security Advisor writes in the memoir that Trump was often treated like a chump by authoritarian leaders. To get on Trump's good side, some flattery and a bit of pomp and circumstance appeared to be all that was needed from leaders such as Xi of China, Putin of Russia, and Erdogan of Turkey. The stuff that he comes out with as well, I mean, it's just... he's... On one of his rallies lately, he said that the Biden administration is to blame for the assassination attempt and that the US military has no ammunition. I mean, think about that for a second. The US military has no ammunition, according to Donald Trump. In his latest campaign speech in Wisconsin, a young rally-goer asked what his plan was to make life more affordable and bring down inflation for somebody like me, they said. And Trump said, and this is a direct quote, "You take a look at bacon, and some of these products, and some people don't eat bacon anymore. And we're going to get energy prices down. When we get energy down, you know this was caused by their horrible energy, wind. They want wind all over the place," he said. To explain how that makes sense to me, please, I'm double dare you.
I know a lot about wind.
Knows a lot about wind. That part I believe. He says, when the wind doesn't blow, we have a little problem. Well, that's okay, Donny, because, you know, you always blow.
Hot air. H-O-T-A-I-R.
Some texts and emails. Shahaf... Oh, no, I read that one. That was about the Nirvana T-shirt. I do want to do the smoking thing before I go. Rona says, unbelievably, I always use chirpy, chirpy, cheap, cheap as an earworm antidote. Happy birthday, God save the king. Right, done all those. Ricky said, hey, Ricky, you're so fine, you blow my mind, hey, Ricky. He says, listen to that Baby Shark song a couple of times and you'll forget Champagne Supernova's lyrics immediately. You can thank me later. No, I'm not going to do that. Brett says, stop being too rational. It's just good manners to give 5 stars. You yourself can't provide any additional services to your show than just talking, so why should a postman give any additional services to just posting? Should I give your show 3 stars? Says Brett. It just seems a little odd to me that there are only really 2 options. You get 5 options if you're going to review something, and this is in relation to me reviewing that techno club that, well, I don't know if it was a techno club, but it was a disco in Ibiza that Angela Rayner was videoed doing the disco dancing to. And I looked it up on the World Wide Web, and there's a lot of negative responses to that club, people's experiences. They didn't like it very much. And there's a few 5 stars and a lot of 1 stars and almost nothing in between. And it did occur to me that that's really the way that people review everything. They either totally love it and it's unimprovable, or they absolutely hate it, usually for bizarre reasons. But I suppose that's, somebody made the point a little while ago that because people who are in these like tech service jobs, like delivery people or people who drive cabs or that kind of thing, because now the computer is rating them, if they get less than 5 stars, then that will show up as a problem on the computer. The computer will say no. If a cab driver takes you to your destination by using the best route, but doesn't really do anything other than that, doesn't talk to you, doesn't, the cab doesn't particularly smell like perfume, and they don't have your favourite music on the stereo or these sort of things, then it is improvable. So it's by definition not a 5-star product. But if you don't give 5 stars, then the computer will register that and it will downgrade that employee. So really, if you got what you asked for, then you have to give it 5 stars. Otherwise, you're screwing them up and their relationship to their employer and their future earnings. Which is kind of alarming, really, isn't it? I mean, it does mean that just the basic product is reviewed as unimprovable. Otherwise, you're ruining people's lives, essentially. Marcus says, can't beat a bit of dad dancing. I only found out what it was until... what? Can't beat a bit of dad dancing. I only found out what it was when my kids recently told me to stop dad dancing. Maybe Gove's kids should have told him the same.
Calm down.
Has he got kids? Michael Gove? Really? Not sure about that. I'll have to check on that. I'm going to guess no. Rob says, before we have another referendum, the government needs to pass a new law saying that nothing will change unless at least 70% of the electorate actually vote for it. If this had been a law in 2016, we would still be in the European Union. God, then wouldn't things be 5-star then? 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC with Nick Abbot. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
We are running late. 0345 6060 973. Tony says, I couldn't get an Oasis ticket, but I will go to Wembley and fly my drone over to film it. Fortunately, the sound of the drone is identical to the sound of the band. Sally says, they're called Banda machines. Well, those are not photocopiers, but they I didn't call them a Banda machine. It was something else. I can't quite remember what they were called. Mimeograph? That's not it either. Those things that were purple. The smell of them. Anyway, she says they're called Banda machines. I used them in my early teacher career. They were a nightmare. They smelt, they smeared, and your hands were purple for days. But they still did the job until photocopier became God. Yeah. And Neil says, tonight me and my girlfriend went for a meal. Before we went to a nearby arcade, and we were shocked that as we put our £1 coin in the teddy picker machine, it played my "thank you" sound effect. We both looked at each other excited, not sure anybody else around us quite appreciated it as much as we did. Yeah, I hear that when I go to arcades as well. Yeah. Can't remember where I got it. I mean, I didn't record it from one of those machines. What Neil failed to tell us was if the teddy picker machine picked up a teddy. I'll assume the answer is no. Kay says, let's just see how many people truly want to keep the rules. Let's have them crowdfund themselves. That's a good idea. Yeah, how patriotic are you? And Di says, if we must have a king, we could not do better than His Majesty, and you know it. I don't know anything of the sort, Di. What makes you think that? See, this is the problem with texting or messaging in general. It's not a conversation. It's just a stab. It's just they throw it out, and then that is the end of the conversation, as opposed to a phone call where you can actually converse, like a human being, as opposed to a robot.
Correct.
John says, so what are we supposed to do with all these houses and castles, etc., that the king has the use of? Are we going to knock them down? Yeah, that's a good idea, John, yeah. That would be the only option available to us, yes. If the royal family did not occupy all of those palaces, castles, houses, halls, cottages, mansions, all of the rest of them, then the only thing to do would be to knock them down. Yeah, excellent idea, John. Good thinking. As long as you don't use an extreme to try to win an argument. Of course we wouldn't blooming well knock them down, you idiot. We would throw them open for the general public to wander around and have a shufti. Simon says, if Charlie paid inheritance tax, we'd all be millionaires. Well, there's... would be... Hang on a minute. Yeah. Yes, we probably would. If he paid inheritance tax on that vast fortune that he inherited from the Queen, then this country would not be in the state that it is. Mind you, he would have done it during the previous administration.
Yeah. Where
and all of that money would have just disappeared. It would have vanished on the ether like a bad smell. Phil says, how can we survive without the televised state opening of a new extension wing to the local primary school? I think that's a few points all mashed into the same sentence. Don't quite make sense. Better luck next time, Phil. Val says, we got tickets and we don't even like them. Why did my 24-year-old daughter spend 3.5 hours to get them? Because it's the experience, says Val. My last time at Wembley was to see Kylie, and the other was Genesis and Michael Jackson. Can't quite do that anymore. No. Whatever it was that I got about 3 months ago, it's still with me. And Dave says, I've taken some wall-hanging pictures from my hall. Will I be on the front page of the Daily Mail? It depends who they are pictures of, Dave. This says, you said about expensive modes of transport. I'd suggest the pedicabs in London, a few of which I last saw not far from where you are. Yes. Here's a word of advice.
Warning!
Do not go in one of those things. Apart from the price, I think that they look like a health and safety fail to me. I mean, and there's a pub on the Strand near that musical Frozen, and sometimes I've sat outside there when there's a matinee on, and all these kids come out, these tiny little children, all dressed up in their Frozen attire with their parents, and some of the parents are, and I'm sorry to be blunt about this, stupid enough to haul their kids into those cabs, those pedicabs, and then they're driven into traffic. What kind of a parent would put their child in such a precarious position? That don't make no sense to me at all. Darren says, not all artists charge the earth to see them in concert. The great Paul Heaton was on tour a couple of years ago and all the tickets were £35 regardless of where you saw him. He also picks a local pub at random in each town he's playing at and puts loads of money behind the bar for locals. A poet and a gentleman. Well, how about that? How many more of these have I got? So I'm running out of time. Let me just check ahead just to see where I'm doing. Oh, too many. Not that I'm complaining or anything.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Yeah, but a little bit too many. I got tickets to see Our Kid and His Brother in Cardiff. Can't wait, says Rachel. We're in the south of France and it's 27 degrees now. Used to live in the West Highlands of Scotland, sitting outside now with a glass of red and having a wee smoke. Don't think the French will ever ban smoking outside, says Irene. All right, well, let's talk about that then. This was a story in the Mail because, you know, they didn't have anything to be furious about, so they're getting furious about this. Millennials have hit out at plans to ban outdoor smoking, even if they never touched a cigarette themselves. Wow, this is serious. Millennials have spoken. And who are millennials, by the way? They are those born between 1981 and 1996, which seems a bit of a weird age to shoehorn into a thing, isn't it? But it means that people are 28 years old to 43 years old. That's your millennial. And the Mail says the masses spoke out after hearing nightclub smoking areas could soon be a distant memory and looked back on their past times with a smile. The masses. And when the Mail say the masses spoke out, they mean a few people that they interviewed. You know, if it was another paper, a more disreputable paper, you might think that those masses were just made up by a lazy journalist, because it's easier to make up quotes than go around asking people about their fond memories of smoking outside a nightclub. But this is the Mail, so I'm certain that no such thing happened. The masses spoke out after hearing nightclub smoking areas could soon be a distant memory and hailed the designated areas as a spot where lifelong friendships began, and others said it was where they caught the eye of the love of their life. Through a cloud of poisonous smoke, and then they got near to a snog, and the stench of stale tobacco hit their nostrils like they were making out with an ashtray. So romantic. What are they talking about? And the reason why the press are doing the usual fury as headlines in this instance is because Skier revealed that he is considering a ban on outdoor smoking. It's communism by the back door.
Oh, no.
Leaked documents revealed that Brits could be barred from lighting up in beer gardens or outside stadiums. And the plans revealed the government was proposing to ban smoking in a bid to improve public health. Improve public health? No! We don't need our health, say the Libertarians. We can rely on the NHS if we get sick, after 14 years of Conservative caring for our National Health Service. Ain't that right, Boris? Millennials have now told of their happiest memories in the smoky spots as they slammed talk of them being snuffed out, says the Mail. Taking to social media in the wake of the news, Brits, including some who have never smoked in their lives, defended the outdoor areas. Many said they met their current wives and husbands while having a ciggy outside. Others said they popped out to get a break from the inside and met pals they've now had for years. And while the areas are for smoking, a heap of revellers fessed up to heading out just for a chit-chat. Let's marinate in that sentence a while, shall we? I'll read it to you again. A heap of revellers fessed up to heading out just for a chit-chat. I mean, good grief. That's His Majesty's Daily Mail taking a wrecking ball to our beloved language, using it up and spitting it out like the detritus you'd find in between your teeth. Why do they hate our country so much? And what did Sir so-called Keir say when he was presented with the facts that a heap of revellers fessed up to heading out to the smoking area of a club just for a chit-chat, and that the masses have spoken out against his woke, communist anti-freedom conspiracy? Well, asked about the proposals, the Prime Minister said, "My starting point on this is to remind everybody that over 80,000 people lose their lives every year because of smoking. That is a preventable death. It's a huge burden on the NHS, and of course it's a burden on the taxpayer." That's what Skier said. Typical socialist, standing up for people's health, just like the woke Socialist Conservative Party under Fishy Sunak.
This government...
That bloke, which intended to ban smoking entirely by phasing prohibition in by age. That is literally what the Tory party campaigned on. It's in their manifesto. It was called a world-leading health initiative when the Tories did it, and typical Labour meddling when Skier suggested something not quite so draconian. Makes as much sense as anything else that's happened lately. Rishi Sunak said, "As Prime Minister, I have an obligation to do what I think is right for our country in the long term." And as every leading Tory that's been asked about the Labour leader's plans said, it's the wrong thing to do for our country in the long term. It's health and safety gone mad. It's the nanny state taking over our freedoms. I mean, really, you couldn't make it up. What will the next outrage be? Stay tuned. It won't be too long to arrive. Thanks very much for all your texts and your calls, and particularly the ones that I couldn't get around to. Too many to read in a brief 3-hour show. Sorry about that. The Friday and Saturday night shows get put up the internet as a podcast, by the way. It's called Nick Abbot, The Whole Show Podcast. It's on Global Player, on which you will also find all of LBC's shows to catch up on, as well as Global's live radio stations. Global Player is free. Get it from your app store or globalplayer.com. I'll be back tonight at 10 o'clock with my Abnormal Normal show coming up at 4, Ollie Dugmore. But first, Clyde Ball. 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 First,